Excuse me. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. We have some business to take care of. This is our regular business meeting for Wednesday, September the 20th, 2023. Board members, we have a new member who will take their oath of office today. It is our high school student president from the Inter High Council. Her name is Deja Mims. Please step forward, Deja. Oath of office. Okay. Mike, hold one word, they're too close together. Say I, Deja.
I, Deja Mims,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of New York,
of the State of New York,
and that I will
faithfully
faithfully
discharge the duties
of the office
of
student representative
of the
Buffalo Board of Education
of the
of the City of Buffalo,
according
according to
the best of my
the best of my abilities,
so help my God.
so help my God.
All right, give her a round of applause. Is somebody here with you? Huh? Okay, so at this point, I think we have a Kodak moment, but we can get it. We can get it after we start our meeting, or you guys want to do it now? Because we have some other ones, so we'll do them all at the same time. When we get to other students, you are welcome to take your seat, young lady. All right. Let me introduce you to these people. Introduce yourselves. Please, let's walk the board and meet your fellow board members. Name? Paulette Wood. Central District. And let me go take you over here to this side of the equation. Okay. No. Okay, so Mom is recording, she said, and we want to thank you for entrusting us with your gym, and we will take care of her, and hopefully she will learn a lot. So, in moving forward, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. Got a lot going on today. And we are excited because this is the beginning of a new school year. And we are looking forward to great things happening. As I pull together my notes, because Dr. Caresi is expecting me to do this right. So next I will turn this over to Dr. Williams for board recognition to introduce the TroCare Partnership and video. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Board President Belton Copman, and welcome, Ms. Mims, and congratulations to your mother. I know that something like this does not just happen without a lot of watering of the seed. So congratulations to you two on the work that you've done to help get your daughter here. And I got some more congratulations. I'm looking out into our audience and I see beautiful, brilliant, intelligent, committed young people who I'm told today are representing the Lewis J. Bennett High School. Is Bennett in the house? All right, okay. So I'd like to ask our own Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Kelly Baudo, to come up and to say a few words. And I see a dear friend, Mr. Sanjay Jelani, who was one of ours also. Where? I hear Bill Russell. Where is Bill Russell? Whoa! Hey, another one of ours. Once you have been a part of BPS's family, you continue to be forever and ever. And also, I see young Mr. Cotman out there too. So thank you all for the work that you did this summer. I'm excited to see and hear and learn. And we have Mr. Harris up there along with Dr. Baudo. Thank you so much. And I'll turn things over to you guys.
So good evening, Dr. Williams and honorable board members. We're here tonight with 13 Lewis J. Bennett students who worked this summer in a cybersecurity program out at TroCare. It was a partnership between the Buffalo Public Schools CTE department under the direction of Mr. Robert Harris and TroCare. The students that are here with us tonight are in the CTE program at Bennett, which is one of our innovative high schools. So the students actually went from Bennett High School for 5 days. They met at Bennett High School. CTE teacher Khalil Kotman used the CTE bus to transport them out to TroCare on Transit Road in East Amherst, where they attended the cybersecurity camp. I will be turning it over to Sanjay Galanti and the Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs, Jennifer Bidwell from TroCare, to present the students with an incentive. But I do want to also let you know that these 13 students will be the first 13 students that will have the opportunity to complete 3 dual enrollment classes through TroCare, one being this fall and 2 of them being in the spring. We do have the opportunity to allow additional students from Bennett to take the course. So at this time, we are canvassing other students to fill up to 20 seats for the program this academic school year. So at this time, I'm going to ask Admir to play a short video, and then at that point, I am going to ask Sanjay and Jennifer to come forward.
$1 trillion. Now think about all of those zeros, and that is the annual cost of global cybercrime. And with that number expected to increase 15% a year for the foreseeable future, paired with it being a very existential threat, new careers in the cybersecurity field are exploding. According to Cybersecurity Ventures, more than 4 million high-paying cybersecurity jobs will go unfilled by the year 2025. Cybersecurity positions like information security analysts, which according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, their average salary tops more than $100,000. It is within this expanding creation of good-paying jobs, along with the knowledge of how underrepresented minorities are in the cybersecurity field, that brought the Buffalo Public Schools and TroCare College together to create a unique opportunity for the students of BPS. This new coalition between the Buffalo Public Schools and TroCare College helped to create the TroCare Cybersecurity Camp, which launched this previous summer and exposed our first group of students to the world of cybersecurity. Students attending the camp learned what it takes to succeed in this world, combining book knowledge with hands-on experiences and culminating in a cybersecurity-style trivia competition.
It's a huge help knowing this stuff. Also, all the safety stuff we know, two-factor authentication. I learned more about firewalls and stuff like that, and VPNs, and how those are almost dire, like required to safely use the internet. I feel like it's fun, but it's also preparing you for the real world if you want to get into this job.
Students loved their summer experience, and now a new group of Buffalo Public School students has their eyes set on their world after high school, a world where they will be prepared to enter and grow in a profession which will allow them a lifetime of opportunities and success. With an MOU already in place between ChoCare and BPS, recruitment has already begun to fill slots for the fall and spring of this year, which will allow the first group of future cybersecurity analysts the chance to earn up to 11 college credits upon their completion of the program. Technology has taught us that in many cases we're preparing students for jobs in the future which may not exist. But we know in the cybersecurity field that these new jobs not only exist today, but will continue to grow and expand in the near future. It is our hope that with the continuing support of the Board of Education, BPS, with its new partnership with ChoCare, can continue to invest in our students who are seeking to join the growing community of cybersecurity professionals. Let's help our students not only protect our world in cybersecurity, but let's help protect their world in it as well.
In the cybersecurity program, I'm only just protecting my future, I'll be protecting yours also.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Jennifer Blickwadell. I'm the Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs at ChoCare College. And over the last year and a half, we've been working really actively towards finding ways to bridge students, Buffalo students, to this field of cybersecurity. And as you know, the video just illustrated for you, and as well as we all know, for all of us in our day-to-day life, the field of cybersecurity is really actively growing. And so this is an area where we know if our students apply themselves and get degrees in this area, they will have jobs in this area. And so ChoCare College commits itself to developing programs that give students opportunities to stay in Buffalo and work in Buffalo and be good stewards of the Buffalo community. And so we're really excited to start this partnership. As others have alluded to, this is year one, and so through our NSF ATE grant, we're able to build this partnership over the next several years, and I hope this is a partnership that will continue for a long time. On a personal note, I want to tell you that your students were amazing this summer. You have so much to be proud of when you think about these students, and they came in their last weeks of summer, and they went to school willingly. And they were so engaged. There was no sleeping in the back of the room with this group, I can assure you that. They were loud, they were engaged, they were pushing for more and more, and what else can we do? And so I'm really excited. So I'm gonna put my teacher hat on and say I'm really excited to see that continue as they start their classes in their dual enrolled program. And we're really excited. 11 credits of college credit these students can walk out of high school with. That's a full semester of college full-time. And so they really should be commended for that effort. And I'm really excited to see how it goes. Thanks, everyone.
Thank this honorable body once again for hosting Bennett for another successful thing. A lot of times we get caught up with our athletics and we forget that we work just as hard in the classroom. So honorable board, honorable Dr. Williams, our leader, thank you so much for continuing to be the driving force behind what we do. Thank you. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna turn over here to our students, and I'm just gonna give a quick reminder of some of the things that we talked about and that we've been working on over the past couple of years. Remember, first comes struggle, then comes ease. I'm extremely proud of you. Every day I tell you that. It's no problem for you to give me a call anytime, to continue to reach out as you continue to develop as excellent young men and young women. That's not a lie when I say it. I love you guys very, very much. I'm extremely proud of you. What you just accomplished going through this cybersecurity camp is the start. It's not the finish, it's the start. And I want to really give a very special thank you to Mr. Russo, Mr. Galani, for opening up the door for this opportunity for our children. A lot of times, these opportunities don't go to inner city youth for a myriad of reasons, but I think that the new relationship and handshake that has taken place is really a testament to all of the work that this body has done to make sure that our students are prepared so when they walk into a college campus, they're ready to hit the ground running. Trocaire College has given stipends. These students, by the way, did not know that they will receive a stipend or any additional considerations when they signed up for this. As a matter of fact, we steered away from telling them because we didn't want the incentive to be just a fiduciary concern. So I'm extremely proud that these guys, just one note, we had a student one day who was late for the bus. They took an Uber to Williamsville to actually make it to the camp. So if anybody is watching and they question the integrity and grit of our Buffalo Public School students, I suggest you think again. These stipends, which Dr. Baldo is going to hold for you until tomorrow, we're going to make sure you get them at school, is just the start of the money that's available for you if you continue in this field. So when I call your names really quick, I'm just going to ask you guys to stand up. We're going to take a picture and sit down. And thank the parents who are also here who made it out too. Oh, so sure. So the cybersecurity camp culminated on the last day with a Air Force cybersecurity game that our students competed with about 600 other teams, roughly somewhere in that ballpark from other cities who were doing this. And the professors and we were all sort of biting our nails when we were doing this, but Bill Gates made reference to this a long time ago. He said one of the things that's holding us back in the IT realm is that our best minds, some of our best minds aren't in the arena yet. And he was referring specifically to urban youth. It's a field that has always escaped us, but now you're seeing what happens when you have some of the most innovative and creative minds tackling cybersecurity issues and handling those sorts of things. So they competed, and they competed great, came up with answers and solutions that we, as the staff, didn't even think of. And it just goes to show the bleeding edge and the innovative mindset that they have. And most importantly, reflecting what the superintendent has been saying for the past couple of years of really work hard, have fun, and celebrate your success. So they live by that, and they show it every day. They make it to school all the time. They just have a drive that's really unmatched. So with that being said, KC Kenyon Cobb, Mo Hill, Jean Marie, Nazir Mills, Amir Robert Oaks, Praise Oglabinla, Grace Oglabinla, Lamojane Owens, Samaritan Suba, Sanjay's nephew, Tyrone Tarver, Brian Walker, Atlas Zelinsky. Thank you guys so much. You have been excellent. When you take your classes, as you guys get ready to start your classes that have been coordinated with Trocaire and Bennett, remember the work that you put in this summer, and remember, this is the tip of the iceberg. Good job, guys.
We're curious, what's the tip?
So we're able to give each student a stipend of $600 for their participation in the program.
Wow.
And one of the things that they learned during the camp was one of the big things that we all need to learn a little bit about here in terms of hacking is ethical hacking. We call them white hat hackers, and there's bounties that are actually put out. So one of the things that they studied during the camp was how do you work with these Fortune 500 companies to identify threats that they may have, they may come across. They learned that while they're in high school, they can actually start on this arena. So, and some of them has actually already started in that. So they're moving in the right direction already.
Wow, thank
we
you
encourage
so
more
much.
students to come to Bennett as well.
That's right. I'd like to ask Mr. Galani if he'd like to come up and just say a couple of words.
Thank you, Dr. William. I don't know why I'm nervous. I've spoken enough in front of this board, but it's good to be among friends. When I met Dr. William back in March, and I said, there is this program that I'm working on which encourages kids to get excited about high-tech fields, not just your regular day-to-day fields, and I said, I want to prove it that all of the kids that are going to apply there, they can do it. She said she likes the program. So we focused on Bennett. We could have gone anywhere in Western New York, but I'm Buffalo for Buffalo. So, by the way, Ms. Cotman asked a question about this competition, this cybersecurity camp competition. It was not a homegrown competition. It's held nationally. So it was not just these kids. Turn around, guys, so you can face them. So this was not just these kids local. They were school districts from entire USA, and these guys finished in 92 percentile. They did very well. They did very well. I think this is a program that can help a lot of our high schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't sit yet. We want to get some pictures. And I just want to ask if there are any parents of any of the students that are here to please stand. We want to applaud you also. And then I'd ask the board if we could maybe line up on the stage and get some pictures. You guys stay there. And we'll get some pictures with the children, and we want all of the staff who are a part of helping this to happen to come up also and be a part of the photos.
And while we're getting ready, just a reminder, we also have a healthcare informatics component that TroCare has been working on that really we like to discuss at another point in time as well.
No. No way. Come in. Can I stand with the kids? Or would you like me to come out?
So I just want to say that we often have opportunities that come our way, and sometimes we don't often maximize them, or we don't benefit from them. In this particular case, I had the pleasure to go out and see these young people. The day of the competition, lunch came and it sat for almost 2 hours. They were determined that they were going to find as many of these as they, it's over my head, but they were looking for as many of these cybersecurity breaks. What is it called? Errors. And you have to remember that this program, this course normally is 2 weeks. Our children did it in 1 week, and they did a phenomenal job. I did good. But I think there were some lessons that they learned. The transportation was not dependable, but somebody figured out a way to keep that bus running, to get you there and get you back. The young lady who took the Uber that day beat the bus out there, believe it or not, because the bus broke down that day. I'm saying this because in life, there's always going to be obstacles. There's going to be barriers. But you either choose to go around them, go through them, go over them, accept them and keep moving, or you stopped. To take an Uber all the way out to Transit Road was a very bold move, especially for someone who really didn't even want to take it at first, right? I heard the story, don't keep thinking I didn't. But I think what also was taught to our children is that sometimes people can come back and give back. And you had 2 of our former employees who went through a lot of effort to make sure that this was brought to Buffalo Public Schools. And for that, we will always be grateful. They did not have to do it. They did it because they believe in you. And this board also believes in you. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys for representing us in a big way. And there were people who were employers there who had never had the urban experience before, who was saying, I will hire these children in a heartbeat. So not only did you change the perspective around for how employers view urban children, you opened up the door for more opportunities for them, and that's what we're about. So thank you guys, each and every one of you. I'm looking forward to see what you do moving forward. Thank you. Okay. All right, now, if you want to stay, you can stay, because you're not getting your money today, okay? You're getting it tomorrow. I'm just playing with you. But anyway, we want to thank you, okay? All right, so moving forward, let's see what's next on the agenda. So what we want to, thank you. Okay, so what we want to do at this point is we want to move some things around on our agenda today, board members. And we want to do it so that it can flow a little bit better than normal. And we don't want to hold our speakers, if that's okay. So the superintendent is going to do an update, but I need a motion in regards to, can I get you to agree to allow the speakers to go before the superintendent's update? And we feel that that will make the meeting flow a lot better once we get involved in it. Terry Sudis, yes. Second, Cindy. All in favor? Thank you. Dr. Williams? Thank you. You're in agreement. Okay, so now we're going to bring our speakers up. Okay. At this time, the board welcomes speakers who have been signed up to speak at tonight's meeting. Please be reminded that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting open to the public and televised locally. Attendees and viewers include persons from throughout Western New York, including children. The board asks that speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous, bearing in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is an opportunity for the Buffalo's residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serves the public interest and district's mission, and the board asks that speakers demonstrate appropriate decorum. With that said, our first speaker today is Mark Bruno, concerned citizen teacher, honoring Miles Williams, honoring Mike Williams, and payroll issues. Sorry, Mr. Bruno.
Good evening, Superintendent, members of your staff, and the Buffalo Board of Education. I'm Mark Bruno, a teacher at Riverside High School, a school I've taught at for over 2 decades. In early September, we lost one of our most beloved sons from Riverside, Michael Williams. Michael graduated in 2006 and was just loved by pretty much everyone at the school. He was drafted into the NFL. In his rookie year, he had 65 receptions for 964 yards and 11 touchdowns, and played 4 seasons with Tampa Bay and was eventually traded to the Buffalo Bills. Michael tragically died in a construction accident, and I just wanted to come and express to his family how much he meant to our school. He's probably one of the greatest athletes to ever come out of Buffalo, New York. Riverside's pretty lucky with that. Cliff Robinson of the NBA went to Riverside, who was also one of the NBA's greatest athletes, and Mike Williams was, you know, to even get to the NFL or to the NBA is practically a miracle. But one thing I wanted to say about Michael is his priceless smile. I think if you read any article about him, that was the thing that everyone spoke about. And he was such, you know, he was this great athlete in both basketball and football, but he was so kind and so respectful to his teachers, and, you know, worked hard to do good in school, and, you know, worked just so hard as an athlete. I wanted to read, because I can't articulate it like his coaches could, but his coach, Tony Trelizio, who coached him, you know, he brought the first Harvard Cup to Riverside since the 1970s, and I'll read what Coach Trelizio said about Michael. He was the most selfless person. He was a great leader and had all of the positive attributes. He was a genuine human and a tremendous man. What I loved most is how humble he was and how hard he worked to become an NFL player. He was a legit baller in the league. Him passing in a construction accident with him being a provider for his family. I don't know his financial situation, but that says to me he wasn't sitting down, and he was always thinking about his family. He did what he had to do for his family, and that's all a man can do. I just want to come here tonight to maybe start the discussion of doing something to honor Michael, both at Riverside, but, you know, have the Buffalo Public Schools also recognize, you know, his great achievements, both as a student and an athlete. Even maybe doing a video that we can inspire other Buffalo Public School students, you know, to kind of, you know, live and try and fulfill their dreams like Michael did. And I just want to say this before leaving. Our hearts are broken for his family, and especially his children that he left behind, and we're all thinking of them. And we love you, Mike, and God bless you, and Godspeed, brother. Thank you.
Is Mr. Fields in the house? Oh, Camille. Come on. Sorry about that. Mr. Fields, thank you. I normally look over there for you. Today you're sitting down front. Thank you.
Blessed love family, putting students and families first to ensure high academic achievement for all, the mission statement of the Board of Education. And I hope that remains the mission, and that mission will be accomplished. I hear a lot about the BPS family. I'd like to know exactly who that all includes. I don't think it excludes anybody, so I think we're all in this together. And I'm glad to see the spirit of working together actually manifest itself. I've been to many board meetings, and it's great to see a cooperative kind of spirit happening, as opposed to the adversarial spirit that sometimes manifested itself in the past. I want to know basically, sometimes these board meetings seem like feel-good sessions because you celebrate the good, but this school system is not 100% achieving. There are a lot of students who don't achieve or are having struggles, and I hope that you spend time trying to help them rise to the occasion that those who you celebrate here do achieve. So back when I was in school, the passing grade was 65. I'm not sure what it is now. It still is. So I wonder what percentage of our students graduate reading, writing, and able to do math on or above grade level. If it's not 65%, and it should be 100%, ideally. Let's move toward that goal, and I think working together we can achieve that goal. And I think that you should spend some time celebrating or encouraging those who, like I said before, aren't doing the achievements that you celebrate all the time here. Because putting students and families first to ensure high academic achievement for all does mean all. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Our next speakers are Maylena Fisher, parent, Antonio Ayala, student, and Ed Spadell, parent. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I get started, I'd like everybody to have Ina Ferguson in your prayers. Ina's going through some health issues, and she needs everybody to pray for her. All right, thank you. Before I get into my main speech, I want to give a shout out to South Park High School. South Park High School had a nearly 87% graduation rate last year. One of our leaders, so thank you, thank you. Mike Morris and his team do an outstanding job of finding the students that need the extra attention and helping them get to where they need to do. Thank Terry Shuda for her work with Mike to develop the programs, but he's doing an outstanding job going forward. Second, the commissary is still on the top of all of our minds. We want to make sure that that moves forward. And now to my main subject. Last April, I came here and I presented with my son a book to the board, the cabinet, and my mission in life about autism. And I stressed how important it was to read this book and understand our children. Well, over this past summer, our special education department forgot what that book means because they moved 400 families with short or no notice. A father at school 72 got a phone call. Your class no longer exists at that school. Pick a new school. Pick right now. Well, you know that father used sibling preference to get his little brother into that school. So now the father's at a new school. The little brother's at a new school by himself. Olmsted, 15 families, weeks of undesirable attention that they don't know if they're getting transferred to City Honors or not. Just so the world knows, everybody doesn't want to go to City Honors. Olmsted's got one hell of a program also, and we love it at Olmsted, and if you send your student there, you'll never want to go anywhere else either. So today, with the help of Marlena, we wrote a resolution that we'd like the board to, just gave you a copy, we'd like you guys, whatever the timetable is to legally do it, to consider this resolution to protect our children from being moved without some time restrictions put in. I'm going to ask Marlena to read the resolution to you, if you don't mind.
Good evening. This resolution is designed to A, articulate the needs and expectations for special needs children, B, outline current placement, transitional services, and school classroom model, C, clarify the district's role in their responsibilities and communication between the district, schools, and families of autistic and special needs children. We would like to request the following agreement between the parents and district regarding school placement for autistic children and special needs children within the Buffalo School District. With the recent changes in moving the autistic classrooms from a 611 model to an 811 model base, numerous families and children have been affected by this change. We have found that this change with regards to the autistic children in the school district has had a negative impact. Research has shown autistic children depend on consistency and stability, and when they are removed from this environment, it can impact them greatly, both behavioral and emotionally, in an adverse way. One, we would ask the special needs children who have been placed and seated in a school remain seated in their place school, unless otherwise found needed to be moved based on an emergent or behavioral need. These children will be given preference to their seated schools when classroom models change, and that all efforts to develop and maintain the needed classrooms within their home schools will be done, as this is vital in maintaining the stability these groups of children need. Two, should a classroom model need to be changed and the home school is unable to accommodate the new classroom, a transitional plan be implemented to help these autistic children to their new school, to include multiple classroom visits and teacher visits over a 6-week period of time, so these children and parents may have the necessary time to adjust accordingly, reducing any negative impacts to them and their families. 3, parents would ask for ample communication time on all changes regarding classroom and school changes at the minimum of a 60-day notification. The district needs to be mindful families need ample time to respond and make necessary appointments and responses to these changes. We ask the district to accept and implement this resolution in regard to school placement and necessary transitional needs should they be needed.
Hi, my name's Antonio, and today we're going to talk about parent communication. I'll give it to my mom.
So last school board meeting, I was really happy to see that you guys opened the floor to parents regarding how communication was and how did we feel about that. I ran into an incident last year where, thank you, Paulette Woods, for all of your help in making it possible for me to participate in my children's end of year activity. And if it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have been able to do so, because the volunteer form for the district had changed. And that volunteer change had actually not been communicated really well. I, as a parent, am work full-time, and I took the day off and used one of my vacation days in order to be present for my children. So that communication is highly, highly needed. I think each of the schools, now I have 4 children in 3 different schools. So having seen how these schools communicate, I have to give a shout out to School 17. They are amazing. They use Dojo to its fullest. They communicate any changes, any bus delays, anything is always on their Dojo. However, it's not a standard across all schools. It seems that all schools tend to kind of be out on their own, following their own procedures. And I think that when we set a clear guideline of procedures of what is expected and how we want that to be implemented, schools then can be uniform and we can expect the same communication across all our schools, especially as parents that have young children in multiple different schools. Like today, I learned that if your child has a substitute bus driver, your bus is no longer visible on the tracker app. Just so you know, every mom's heart drops out of their body if you do not know where your child is. So that was really good to find out today. But nowhere on our busing letters does it tell us that, hey, heads up, and if you want to know, here's the number to call. So I would just appreciate a more clear procedure for communication to parents.
Thank you. Monica Stevens, student. No?
No.
Monica Stevens.
No.
All right, thank you.
A parent.
Sorry about
A long time since I was a student. Dr. Williams and members of the board, I'm here to emphasize the need for increased transparency,
shared decision-making, and genuine responsiveness within Buffalo Public Schools. As a growing mistrust among parents seems to stem from their exclusion from decision-making and their impact on their child's education and well-being. This frustration arises when parents struggle to receive answers and their concerns remain unaddressed. Goal number 4 of your 5x25 goals is to amplify all voices and cultivate trust by partnering with parents, caregivers, and community stakeholders. However, when parents feel undervalued and excluded from decision-making, it undermines this partnership. I was disheartened to learn that the decision regarding NFTA bus passes was made without consulting parents, and particularly those parents who are directly affected by the change. Parental involvement should go beyond token representation. It should entail genuinely listening to our concerns and incorporating our impact in the decision-making process. One significant challenge parents face is accessing information and obtaining timely responses. Unanswered emails and phone calls or being shuffled between offices without resolution fosters an environment of uncertainty and mistrust. This was especially pronounced this summer when parents were unable to reach their CSE changes regarding an unanticipated change to their child's classroom structure, the same one that Mr. Spadell spoke about earlier. Last year, we were told that the 3-bell schedule would alleviate lost class time and allow kids to get to school on time. However, my son's bus continues to arrive to my house no less than 40 minutes late every single day. This forces the kids on it to miss class time, and it erodes our confidence that future changes will be enacted as promised. I respectfully urge the board to involve parents in the decision-making process from the outset, well before final decisions are made. We should not simply be informed about crucial changes, we should actively contribute to shaping those decisions. I'm in alignment with your commitment to amplify all voices and cultivate trust. Parental involvement needs to be an integral part of the decision-making process and not an afterthought. Our concerns deserve consideration, and our voices should be heard consistently and not just during these 3-minute speeches that interfere with dinner and bedtime routines for the little ones. Let us collaborate to rebuild trust, strengthen our partnership, and ensure that every child in Buffalo Public Schools receives the education they deserve. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Lacey Folga, parent, special ed and busing.
Hi. So I was hoping to come prepared, but the reality is I have a 2nd grader who's autistic, and I have a 3-year-old. So everything that was going around in my head, I really didn't get onto paper, and I have some notes jotted down. But the reality is for me, the lack of transparency and communication in CSE in general. We don't get notified of changes. The change from 611 to 8211 was made over the summer. Children with autism do not adjust well to major changes. We're moving kids from schools. Luckily, my son is in an 8-to-1-to-1 and was not affected by that. But even the start time changes has adversely affected my child. His start time is a half hour early. The bus is a half hour early. Getting him up, getting him fed. He doesn't always eat now before he goes to school, which causes problems because then he's like, I'm hungry. And then he gets there, there's nothing nutritious at school to eat. I'm kind of going all over the place, but it comes back to that, we're not notified, we're not included. It's really hard to get answers. My son's CSC chairperson was changed. I did not receive written notification of this. I have been spending 3 weeks trying to track down my son's new CSE chair. I know we're rebuilding the website, but and the CS chair information isn't accessible at this point, but it's a consistent pattern. Another example with busing, my son, dismissal time is supposed to be 2:30. I have a piece of paper saying he'll be home at 2:44. The other day I arrive at my house at 2:32 and his bus is in front of my house. And the bus driver is waiting And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is your bus doing here early? Luckily, I was there. That's upsetting to any child, but for a child with autism, for me to not be present when he gets off his bus could stem him not wanting to get on the bus for 3 months. It's a behavior adjustment. It's him losing trust in me. So, you know, and when I called the school, they're like, well, we have no control over bus times. So for me, all of these changes just kind of speak volumes to the lack of communication the different departments in the district has with parents and how far information goes at protecting children with special needs from these day-to-day changes. And that's all I have time for.
Thank you. Andrea Zulik, parent, special ed. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Dr. Williams and members of the board. I'm a proud mom and West Side, City of Buffalo resident. My oldest daughter is a Da Vinci graduate, and I have 3 more children attending Buffalo Public Schools. We have been mostly delighted with our teachers and our academic experiences. However, it's been a whole different ballgame with a kiddo with special needs. It has been difficult, stressful, and extremely time-consuming to ensure that my 5-year-old full-time wheelchair user gets the services she needs. Last year was a struggle to get her school to simply follow her IEP. They did not until March, 6 months into the school year. With no accessible playground, a failure to fulfill her IEP, and a non-responsive CSE chair, it was clear that she was not and would not be a priority in that building. It feels like she's the first special needs child to ever go to a Buffalo public school, and that just shouldn't be. Astrid, my daughter, is a deeply caring and loving soul. This past Monday, she was in her aquatherapy class with a boy with CP. He indicates yes by looking up with his eyes. Astrid asked if she could hold his hand. He motioned yes, so she put her hands around his fist. She makes easy friends in the classroom, and her classmates think her light-up wheels are the coolest. Inclusivity is a beautiful thing. The special education department and building admin seem unclear on what services and supports are available, our rights as parents, and who to contact with problems. The system is labyrinthine. Instead of following the IEP and the ADA requirement of the least restrictive environment, no less than 5 people have suggested sending my daughter to ECMC, School 84. She's not medically fragile, she just can't use her legs. Sorry, just go. My daughter has been asked to stay home when her 1-on-1 aide called in. She was assigned a second-floor classroom, and when the elevator went out for a week, she was carried up, and her wheelchair carried up by a second person. We've experienced indignities and clear legal violations. So my questions to you are, what can you do to remedy this, to make the special ed process easier, more transparent? How will you ensure that IEPs already in place are being followed and that students' due process rights are not being violated? When will we get accessible playgrounds so my daughter and all mobility challenged children can participate and not feel left out? Why the inequality between schools? Why are we segregating kids with different abilities? Why are they placed in different parts of buildings or warehoused to 84? Thank you for your time and consideration. I never realized how the world is designed for abled people until I had Astrid, and I feel that we can all do better for her. Thanks.
Thank you. Board members, may I have a motion requesting that the requirement of Board Policy 1512 be waived to permit Emmanuel Radford Sr. to address the board regarding the district spectators policy in accordance with policy 1512. This time will be limited to 3 minutes. I see Cindy, I see Mr. Herb. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Mr. Rafford, please come forward. Mr. Raffords, please come forward.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, one, for allowing me to speak. I know I was late in calling to try to get on the list, but I appreciate you all taking just a few moments to hear me out. So obviously, we all know what took place a couple weeks back at the McKinley-Bennett game, and I just want to first start by saying I agree that something had to be done. So I don't want to start this conversation off by acting as if nothing had to be done. There was a big brawl. Safety concerns for not just students, but for also spectators. So I understand the district and the board taking an approach that something had to be done. So I'm in agreement and in alignment with that. My concern is that what was done did not include all the stakeholders that are involved with that. I wish the board and the superintendent would have spoken with parents, students, and other stakeholders, maybe community members, to see how this policy would affect everybody moving forward. I agree that some students who come to games, who cause trouble, who fight, should not be allowed to be at those games because, again, going to those games are a privilege. But I don't believe that every student should be penalized because of what some students do. So I would urge that the board and that the superintendent bring in more stakeholders to have a conversation about how we can include those who haven't done anything and still allow them to enter football games because, here at the board meetings, we've always talked about how we want our students to support our student athletes. And so I want to make sure that they're always doing that. We have a state championship football team that needs all the support it can get, not just from coaches and players, but from fans too. So I want to make sure that all of our athletic programs are allowed to have adequate fans in attendance, and students who didn't do anything wrong, students who are not coming to fight, students who are just coming to watch the game should be allowed to come. So I'm just asking that we reconsider this policy and make a more well-rounded policy so that we're not consequencing those who did nothing wrong. But also keeping in place those who come to cause trouble at games, they deserve a consequence because that's not what that's about. We're there to watch football and the cheer team on. We're not there to fight. We're not there to cause danger to others. So I understand that that has to be in place too. But I think we can do both without excluding everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rafford. Superintendent, your response to the speakers.
Okay. Thank all of the speakers that came before us tonight. Mr. Bruno, I'm a proud alumni of Riverside High School, and it certainly is very sad to lose any young person. I knew Cliff Robinson, and I did not know Michael Williams. I do know family members of Michael Williams, and certainly, what happened is very tragic, and both young scholar athletes are just gone too soon. I also have heard some really great things about Michael Williams, and when I served in another position in the district as director of guidance, Coach Russell, I think he was at Riverside when I was there, and I don't know if he's still there. That was a very long time ago. But he was so committed to making sure that Michael Williams had the opportunity to go to Syracuse University that he called me on a Friday evening. There were some issues with getting his transcript ready, and as the director of guidance, I was able to go in, check his credits, make sure everything was okay, and get a letter certified so that he was able to go. Coach Russell came down to City Hall at about 7 o'clock that night and picked it up and drove it to Syracuse to make sure that he had that opportunity. So I'm going to ask Dr. Reynolds if she can reach out to you, and I know that you're interested in the district somehow or another recognizing all of his accomplishments, and certainly I would support it, and I hope that our board members would consider doing something like that also. Mr. Fields, it's been a little while. but it's always, always good to see you. And you're absolutely correct in saying that the BPS family is all of us. You know, it's the alumni, it's folks who just care about what's happening in Buffalo Public Schools, it's our students, it's all of us. And you're also absolutely correct in saying that, you know, we're not at 100% of our students all being able to graduate proficient in reading and mathematics. But finally, you're also correct in saying that we're moving in that direction. We are moving towards that goal. So continue working with us, and we're going to continue getting better and better and moving towards that goal. I got a little confused here because Mr. Spidell came up, but he was listed, I think, last on the list. So President Spidell, certainly shout out to South Park all day long. We had a meeting yesterday, and you shared your sentiments yesterday about, you know, how South Park, you know, works with students, identifying them in their freshman year and going all the way up through senior year and making sure that no student gets lost in that. And I mean, quite honestly, I shared with you and I shared with all of Parent Congress that, again, as Director of Guidance, I worked with Terry Shooter when she was principal there. She loaded up on school counselors and made sure that that model was happening at that school. And so the result of that is the 87% graduation rate. And so kudos to you, former Principal Shooter. Kudos to Mr. Morris, who is the current principal, who has continued with that model. And kudos to you, President Spidell, as one of the proud alumni of South Park High School. You then talked a bit about, you know, the families that have been impacted by some of the moves that have happened. And, you know, certainly I have a heart for that. I do. And, you know, we talk about making sure that our neediest students get what they need, because if we get our neediest students what they need, then we know that everybody else will also be taken care of. And so certainly I heard the concerns that you have shared tonight and that you shared yesterday in our Parent Congress meeting. And there were, you know, a host of parents, and I believe Ms. Fisher came up with you and spoke and shared a resolution, a draft resolution. Haven't had a time to really delve into, you know, taking a look at it. I believe copies were also given to the board members for them to take a look, you know, at it also. But I would ask that, you know, before anything happens here, that we begin to have a deeper conversation about exactly what it is that you would like to see happen, perhaps with myself and with Ms. Botticelli and with our special education department, so that we can see how we can work together to get what is needed for all of the students that are classified with any form of a disability. You know, disabilities are not always something that people are born with. Any one of us this evening could leave and become a part of that family. We could have a car accident, and you know, you just never know. And so I certainly have a heart for our children who are classified with disabilities. So I'm going to ask Ms. Botticelli to reach out to you and to set up a time for us to have a conversation and see how we can work together. We then had, is this your son, Antonio? All right, Antonio has a lot of courage, lots of courage when we get young people. Is he back here raising his hand? Okay, Dr. Ayala, you got a lot of courage to come before this Board of Education in an auditorium full of adults. So kudos to you. I know that you said you were going to give it up to your mom, but you know, I think we should all give it up to you for coming tonight. Thank you. Ms. Stevens, it's been a little while since I've seen you. You asked about increasing transparency, and that certainly is one of the big pieces of our 5 by 2025, increasing transparency and amplifying voice of students, community, and parents. And during my tenure as superintendent, I believe we're moving in that direction. We're a large district, second largest in New York State. And so sometimes it can feel for some parents that their voices may not be heard, but there's so many ways for parents to get that voice heard. I meet with Parent Congress now every month. And, you know, that's one of the ways to help to amplify some of the concerns, because we have real conversations. It's not all just, you know, positive. We're honest with one another. And so I would encourage you to consider being a part of that and being a part of those conversations, so that I can hear not only what is impacting you, but you may have access to other constituents and know things that are impacting others, that those concerns need to be at the table. We also have a committee, and it's called Operation Sunrise, and it's a transportation committee, and there really was a diverse group of stakeholders that met and, oh, you're on it, okay, okay. So that's another opportunity for your voice to be heard. You know, I apologize, you shared that the bus was 40 minutes late every day. And, you know, we're into the second week of school. And I do anticipate that it's gonna get better and better. The first couple of weeks of school are always, even if we never changed to a 3-tier system, you know, I was a principal, I was a student who rode the buses. It's just always, you know, everybody's trying to get the routes consistent and all of that. I just ask that, you know, you have a little patience with us, because this was a big systemic change, really big change. So I ask that you just be a little patient with us on that and continue to amplify the voice of parents, and, you know, let us know what's happening. And if the bus is continuing to be 40 minutes late, you know, then let us know that. And then, you know, we work with you and see what we have to do. If it's just that bus, or if it's, you know, multiple buses, then we work with you on that. Ms. Foglia, you started out by saying you felt like you were all over the place because you've got 2 little ones, and, you know, this is a busy time, dinner time. You weren't all over the place. You were pretty clear about what it is that you felt. And, you know, you shared that in your case, I believe that, you know, the bus got there early, and that the building leader or someone told you that they really can't control, you know, certain things. Some of that is true. I mean, you know, there could be an accident that causes a bus to be late, or, you know, the children are all on the bus a little early, and do they sit there for 10 minutes, or do they go ahead and go because they've got 2 other routes to, you know, pick up children. I just want you to know that I am understanding, and I knew when we implemented this that we transport 29,000 children every day to school and home. That's 58,000 children that every day. And so I knew when you change a system that certainly there would be some that things were, you know, a little different, a little hairy, but the majority of the system, it is working for. And when we do have that 1, 2, or 3, because it matters to you if you are in that 1, 2, or 3, that we work with you and see what we can do to modify and support you. And we have been committed to doing that. And so as I become aware of those 1, 2, or 3s, you know, I'm working with Chief Hills, and he's working with the Transportation Department to try to do what we can to support. Mrs. Oleg? Your daughter certainly sounds like a rock star. I mean, light, lit up wheels, that would certainly entice anyone. I can only imagine. Astrid, is that her name? I wrote her name down. You had some really reasonable questions. You didn't ask anything that was, pie in the sky. You're asking for answers to reasonable questions, and I'm going to ask Chief Botticelli to have someone reach out to you because they're reasonable. And as a parent, you have a right to ask and you have a right to receive a response. And so I'm going to ask her if she would reach out to you and discuss some of the questions and the whatever the answers are. And if they're not satisfactory, she'll let me know and I'll reach out and see how we can try to support. I can't promise that we'll be able to find funding to put playgrounds in this year. We've already got a budget approved, but certainly you coming and amplifying that need puts that on my radar. So thank you. Thank you for coming tonight and sharing that. And finally, Mr. Radford, I always address you as young Mr. Radford, and now I guess we got a young Mr. Radford that came with you this evening. And, we knew when we needed to put in place something, because of what happened at the first Friday night game at All High. We didn't it wasn't a knee-jerk response. I don't want anyone to think that it was. It was really thoughtful. And we sat and we talked. We did some research, and what we all know is that, unfortunately, that is the time that we're in. It's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to really talk about because football games and sports events should be fun and supportive and rah-rah and all of that. The difficulty is you never know who will have a problem. And so when you say, it should only be for kids who haven't done anything. We don't know if the kids that did something that night had done something before that night. But what we do believe is that when they come with an adult, there's some accountability that's there. And when we know who is there, that's important too in today's times. We got to know who is everywhere on any of our properties. We got to know. And so, it's not something that is necessarily, we'll never revisit it. But, when I look across the country at the things happening, we knew that it was time to have our Evolve scanners there. That's important. We got to know what's coming in. You go to a Bills game, you got to go through the scanner, and nobody questions it. You do it. We're checking bags. Because I could not, as superintendent of this school district, live with myself if I did not do everything that I could every day to try to mitigate any child, any parent, any staff member from incurring any harm. Any harm. So we're doing all of those things, how people file into the games. All of this leaving out and coming back in. No, you're in the game, you stay in there. You don't come in and come out and come back in. We're looking at predictable patterns so that we can get better and better at understanding who might bring some issues in. But right now, we don't know. We have to make sure that we have enough staff to monitor and keep everybody safe. We can't mandate for our school security officers to work those games. And, certainly we can't mandate the Buffalo police officers in certain numbers if we don't know how many we're expecting to be there. So, again, it's a hard conversation because I always want to say yes, but this is one of those things when it comes to safety that we had in this country just this year at football games, 16 persons shot, 2 deaths, 13 wounded, and a stampede. I do not. I don't want it to happen anywhere, and I sure don't want it to happen in Buffalo Public Schools. So for now, I'm asking to please be supportive and support, you know, what it is we're trying to do. We're just trying to keep children safe. That's all. We're not trying to be punitive. We're just trying to keep everybody safe. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Hurd asked to comment on that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Board President. First of all, everybody issue that they proposed tonight is very important to all of us. And we all take notes and read over the concerns and speak with the superintendent about them also. But I would just like to, I know two things that really stood out was the situation with Ina Ferguson. We've all prayers for her, and Mike Williams. I just wanted to speak on this on behalf because Mike Williams was a kid that a coach growing up, and when I was coaching with Seneca, you know, I was happy to see him grow, and he went and played over at Riverside in basketball and football, and I just loved the accolades that was presented tonight by Mr. Bruno, and anything that we can do for him and his family moving forward, please include me in those plans, and reach out to the board to see what steps we can take to recognize him. But I also like to say that Mike Williams, you know, he grew up in a hard situation. When he came to pros, we did some reaching out to the community over at John B. Wells Stadium and reached out to his children. He grew up on Jefferson Avenue on Raleigh Street, over by where the top shootings happened. And he loved that community no matter what, and he wanted to make sure everybody had opportunity because so much adversity in the life that our children go through, he wanted to see if we can make hope that they didn't go through. And we just had this term that, you know, we don't care what happened, we want to make sure that our children succeed. But he had this term, he always said, I do care what happened, and I'm going to make sure these children achieve. And so with that, I do care, and I will help make a difference. He impacted that into his life. So anything that I could do or this board can do, let's work together on that plan. But lastly, we have a number of children that, not because of accidents, they lose their lives at young ages. And it's more that, you know, we have to do in educating our parents, family, and community. So let's just keep working together. And thank you again.
Thank you. So I want to speak out in regards to the spectator policy as well. As the chair of the athletic committee, I would have appreciated the opportunity to be a part of the conversation. If not myself, I would have maybe asked some other board member to do so. I think it's important that we have a principal's voice at the table when these decisions are being made. I too am for safety, but I was one of the students that supported the teams in high school. And those experiences, even now today when I see a lot of the guys and young ladies who played sports, you know, we laugh and joke about them. So it's very much a part of my history. And I want to make sure that all children get an opportunity to have a full experience in education. I was a straight A student. I had great attendance. I earned the right to go to events. Give you an example, Bill Bennett was my principal. When he would do a locker search, he would go say, close your locker, girl. He wouldn't even check my locker because I was a model student. And so because of that, you know, I had privileges, did not have to take the final exams and things like that. But I earned those privileges. And I feel that children, our students, deserve to not be painted with the same brush for all children. Okay, the majority of our children are not troublemakers. Now, when I went on the campus, all high, some of the parents told me there's only been 2 incidents since they've been there. One was with McKinley and one was with health science. That's it. For the most part, there has not been incidents at all high. And so recognizing that those were the 2 schools that traditionally have problems, maybe we can work with that. But I don't want any incidents where children are not hurt, but I don't want children not to have the opportunity to enjoy sports events. And so in moving forward, I would appreciate the opportunity for the board to be represented at decisions like this, as well as a principal. We have the Section 6 representative now with South Park, Mike Morris, who's sitting there for the principals. I would like for that to expand, because let's be real clear here, okay? It is not a lot of activities or things that you can do in the inner city that don't cost a whole lot of money. And as a result of that, basketball and football were two of the things that we did as kids, and we were pleased to do it. So I really would appreciate an additional conversation about opening that up. I do not feel that the cheerleaders or the football players have the rights to select everything that's happening in that field, okay, or in that arena. So we need to have an additional conversation about that. Mr. Hurd?
President Gottman, is there any way we can work to form a committee?
We have an athletic committee.
A committee to address the situation with the stadiums and.
We have an athletic committee already in place. All we need to do is be brought to the table. Dr. Revere, you would like to speak?
I was close. There we go. If I can change the conversation for 1 minute, I'd like to make a comment regarding the parents who spoke about special education, the needs of our community and our students with special needs. I want to make it clear that it's my expectation of this board that we will work on this. We do not have a full range of classrooms meeting a full range of needs in every building. We must have that. It's a non-negotiable. We have children who need consistency. We cannot move them and expect them to not exhibit behaviors. We can't expect them not to struggle academically. Regression is real. It's not made up. It's not students being lazy. When we disrupt their foundation, everything flows out of that, and that means all the things that happen on the bus, all the things that happen in the hallway, all the things that happen every day. I really felt what you said about a bus being late or you're not being at the bus. There's a lot of parents who are lucky that their child will ever get on a bus again, let alone 3 months. That's best case scenario. You were being nice. You were being nice. I know you were being nice. I feel you. I know you were being nice. We've talked a lot about this over the years, about really what it means to be accessible, about what it means to be inclusive. And way too often, students with disabilities, students with special needs in the largest range are not at the very center of that conversation. We are doing better, as Mr. Fields pointed out. We're starting to talk together more. We need to do more. And I hope as a board, this will become a priority this year.
Thank you, Board Member Makuzi.
So, full transparency, I was on the CPAC call last night, the other night. My days are kind of rounding together right now. And I'm at a loss because I'm a parent, I'm a community leader, I'm a board member. I see both sides. I see the struggle on the district's end because special education and the needs and the departments and the regulations and, you know, states and all that. And it's frustrating to know that we still have our hands tied a bit, right? And where do we go from there? But to hear some of the stories that I heard, to resonate with them due to my own personal experience with my own child, and to be an advocate who will get on a bus, take a train, and go to Albany and bang on the governor's door to get what we want. My encouragement to add to Dr. Rivera's is that this board does what we can as the second largest district in this state to go bang on anybody's door in any area. I don't care if it's Albany, I don't care if it's downtown, I don't care if we all bang on each other. We have to work together. The one thing, and I had a conversation, and I will say that Ms. Holschinger, I want to make sure I say the name right. I truly feel the situation that she's in and that department is in. The pointing of fingers is valid. I'm going to say that as a parent, it's valid because I feel it. But there also cannot be fingers pointed back at folks, and you have to understand that. So as a board and as a board member, I stress this multiple times. We are here for our constituents. You know, to have a desperate sounding leader of a department offer up, I'll have a one-to-one with you and you and you and you and you and you, and to have parent advocates say, I'll do with you and you and you. You don't physically have that time, so we have to work together to make the spaces in order for us to share concerns in a way that we can move this all forward, where we can fight together. Because it's not just all on the district. It's not just all on the parents and the caregivers, and it's not all on the Board of Education. This is an effort that is, from the federal government on down, is putting these hurdles in our way. And we're dealing with all kinds of issues that I don't think we're communicating amongst each other what they are. And I feel like the number one thing that I heard, Dr. Williams, is we have to be more transparent. The word transparent is going to haunt me in my sleep just from the speakers who were here today. And it's the absolute truth. It was resonating throughout the entire phone call. Communication is absolutely necessary. And from there, then maybe we can see that we're all experiencing some of the same hurdles, and how do we attack those together. And I'm dead serious about knocking on doors, because I feel like we are a powerful district, and we're starting to really show that we are not taking any shorts, no excuses, right, President Hartman? No excuses. So help us help everybody, help me help him. You know, my young man's in the crowd right now. So I just, you know, I felt it. I normally don't speak on the speaker's comments, but my heart was twisted 13 different ways just over an hour-long conversation that I was listening to last night. So, yes, we've talked about it long enough, but have we had the conversations with all the people in the room? I don't think so. Let's start doing it.
Thank you. Board Member Sheila. Mr. Hurd, you spoke, right?
I guess my question with the late notice of the changes in placement is why it took so long for people to find out. Did we not have an overreaching plan that we plotted out, or did it happen? Was there some circumstance we didn't know that made it, that parents didn't know? That was just my concern. And it's not fair to those kids, and it's not fair to the parents. And in many cases, it wasn't fair to schools that didn't know what was happening. And that was just my observation.
Thank you.
I concur with my colleagues. This district is too large to work in a vacuum if that's what happened. So we have to get better, and I look forward to getting better.
Thank you. I just want to say that one of the things that corporate America does good is called user-friendly procedures. And I think there's a need for us to take a look at our procedures from what I'm hearing today and to determine if they're user-friendly. As we start growing and developing more, we should be more customer-centric. And if I want my customer to stay with me, I want to make sure I'm meeting my customer needs. And as a result of meeting my customer needs, it will require that we take a look and see if everything that we're doing is user-friendly. And it really goes back to the golden rule. It really does. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, okay? And we're going to have to start looking at that, maybe through some of our committees or whatever. I'm not sure how you want to work it through our special ed committees and things like that. But we really need to start looking at the user-friendly model. Is this how I want to be treated if it was me? And I think if we approach it like that, I think we'll handle a lot of things that we're not doing. And I'm talking about the procedures and everything. Yes.
I 100% agree with you, first of all. Second of all, we're working on a survey right now to get at some of that from the parents' perspective. And so the questions aren't there yet, but I will be bringing them to the board. So we're moving forward with that piece of it.
Great. I'm pleased to hear that. Okay, if no other discussion, yes, Mr. Hurd.
Thank you for saying that, but to agree with the superintendent that she did say that at the beginning of the school year there will be some transportation issues. I know that the first week we had that 100% bus route coverage here in the city of Buffalo, which I'm so proud of, and the hard work that this district has been doing. But I understand that the parents have the concerns for their children, which is much our concerns also. But there are some scheduling issues with buses, and that sometimes, the normalcy don't develop until, the third, fourth week, fifth week. Sometimes when the weather come inclement, the bus schedule is going to change a little bit. So, she did ask for everybody to be a little flexible at the beginning of the school year to things kind of pan out, because this 3-bell system is different for us, and it's difficult for us, but this district is working very, very hard to trying to adapt and reaching out to the parents to assure that there will be some type of normalcy and consistency in the future. So I know the superintendent probably have more message about that, but please be patient, and any way this district can help, I'm sure they'd be more than willing to try to address your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We had a robust conversation on that topic. And moving forward, we will get to know a little bit more about our president of our All-High Student Council. She needs to know that we don't expect her to stay for the pure duration of the meeting, because we recognize that you are a student and you can stay as long as you want or whatever you want. It's always with us. Want to make sure you eat too, always. But you have the floor, young lady. Please let us share with us what you want to talk to us about tonight.
Okay, is this on? All right, perfect. So I'll just introduce myself. My name is Deja Mims. I go to Frederick Law Olmsted. Oh, can you hear me now? Better? Okay. So I'll talk about myself just a little bit. My name is Deja Mims. I go to Frederick Law Olmsted. I'm currently a senior there. And again, I'm president of the Inter-High Student Council for Buffalo Public Schools. I represent the school district, all the students in the school district. And yeah. So currently for our club, our student council club, we have not had a meeting yet, but I will be able to discuss points or any activities that we are discussing or talking about in our next meeting.
So Deja, are there any things that you would like to maybe possibly just hearing some today, or just thinking about things that you might think that the All-High might be interested in looking at this year? Not to put you on the spot, but...
No, you're fine. Oh, no, you're fine. I'm new to holding a mic. It's kind of weird. But I do like the whole discussion with the disabilities and trying to find a better way of helping our disabled students. I personally am at a school that has a really good program. I actually have classes with people that have disabilities. I know some forehand. And they're not really separated. On every single floor, we have different types of grades. And in each grade, we have different classes for those who are disabled in the same grade. Ours is like, our school is separated by grades, but that's neither here nor there. I would like to talk about the McKinley and the all-high stadium problem, but I also feel like with the discussion that was being held, I feel like there will be more conversations with that, so I don't think it really needs to be discussed more on the all-high stadium and for the inter-high school, the all-high stadium situation. But I do like the disabled students getting more awareness and more attentiveness for just for the parents and for them as well, because they are, again, human beings. They are students that are also in Buffalo Public School districts, and they shouldn't be treated differently. And yeah, I guess that's it.
All right. That's a lot, young lady. So thank you. So know that you have 9 board members and superintendent that is at your disposal. Certainly, I expect each board member to at least have one conversation with you about some issue before the year is over. I expect to spend more time with you probably than most, just to let you understand what the governance is like so that you can have a full understanding, so that when you end up being a woman down the road, you can say, I remember when I was on the school board, okay, or the president, who knows where you're going, okay? But just so that you can understand a little bit about what we do here as far as governance is concerned. And let's see, with that said, we are ready to move forward. So, next step, what we're gonna do, because we're gonna do the superintendent's update. She's going to talk about 2 items, and then she's going to talk a little bit about her goals. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Board President. I'd like to ask our Chief Operating Officer, David Hills, come forward. And, you know, Chief Hills, you know, you've had 2 really big, I mean, there are many, but you had 2 really big lifts. And the transportation piece was a really big lift. And so I wanted you to come before the board at the start of the school year so that we could get an update. I know it's only 2 weeks in, but if we can get an update, quick summary of how things are going. And then we moved from Duville College to School 8. And if you can just quickly share a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and thank you, board members, for this opportunity, and thank you, Madam Superintendent. This is a brief because it's not a full update. A lot of the data we would usually share on a monthly basis is not yet available, but I wanted to give a snapshot of where we're at. Next slide. So we did have some uncovered routes in PM this year, but we have not been uncovered for any route in the morning at all this year. I'm comparing the first 5 days of, it is very, because that was what we've been battling the past 2 years since coming back from COVID full school. I compared the first 5 days. In 2021, we didn't even collect data the first day of school 2021, but we had uncovered routes in the morning of 4 of the first 5 days, 130 uncovered routes, which was over 1,400 to 1,500 kids impacted by uncovered routes. That means the bus driver is going to come after they do your route, or you're going to be doubled with another school on the fly. PM, we had up to 242. We were down to
Last year, the first 5 days of school, 50 in the morning, 121 in the afternoon. And this year we're down substantially, and that is getting better every day. And prior to 2017, 2016, there were always days where we'd have some uncovered routes that we had to adjust. And what is good is that we are more flexible now. Instead of having to have a bus go to 2 or 3 extra schools, if we do have to loop back and pick up a school, we have a bus we can break free in the middle tier to capture that route. So it is much easier to take care of those students. And since our routes are smaller, we're looking at every day for those PM less than 200 students that we're looking at. So we have this year, we have 456 buses we're using. It's actually gone up in the past 2 days since I prepared this yesterday. It's now at 458. We have to have 2 out-of-district McKinney-Vento buses we've added. But last year in June, which was our best month all year, in June we were running with 457 buses to get through. We've substantially increased the number of routes, because to cover 3 tiers, we have, instead of buses doing 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, they're now doing 6. So the driver is doing 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, except in some cases. Average ride time has gone down from 37 minutes in January. We were up to that being in the high 40s in October of last year. And our average route time is down to 44 minutes from 53 at the end of last year. Again, our average route was over 70 minutes last year. We had routes that were starting at 6 o'clock to pick up students, to go to an early school with drop-off students, and then go pick up another load of students to bring to that school. So the double routes and uncovered routes were catastrophic. And just to give everyone a sense, if you look at national news, the driver shortage has increased over the summer. It is worse this year nationally than it was before. There are schools in Pennsylvania, not just 1 or 2 districts, multiple districts that have had to utilize remote days. Ohio has had disastrous school openings. Down the thruway in Rochester, there have been serious issues. Rochester, Minnesota even has had some serious issues. Kentucky, there have been serious issues across the country. So the 3-tier gave us a fighting chance to have a normal arrival and departure from school. Next slide, please. So the positive is we have scheduled our buses for a full 6-hour and 55-minute day. And Dr. Stevens shared, and we have other cases that we're concerned about where individual students may be impacted and will not have, at this point, that full day, but we are getting better every day on that, and we will get to a point. The buses are routed to get to school before classes start. Last year, we had buses at our early schools and our late schools arriving well after classes started for the day, and we were losing a half hour at the end of the day for early schools and at the beginning of the day for late schools, 20 minutes to a half hour of instruction, basically baked into the cake. So this year we are scheduled for a 6-hour, 55-minute day. We've had a dramatic reduction in uncovered routes and no AM uncovered routes on any day. 17% shorter routes and 22% shorter average ride time. More consistent times. So a school is now, and this has been an adjustment, the buses are arriving at the same time, where over the past 2 years, buses would trickle in, so you'd unload them. And during COVID, we developed some procedures of kind of spaced out unloading, and so buses are now coming in waves, except again, there's a couple stragglers we're working on. So there's consistent time for window for buses to arrive, window for bus pickup. 76% of our buses have aides now. 22 have cleared civil service and were scheduled for pre-service training yesterday. I didn't get a count for how many they took or how many came for the training, but we also have an additional 60-some aides that we're putting through the process. I hope our numbers are better than a third of them making it through civil service by the next time we train. but we're working on that, and Human Resources is doing a great job of getting the candidates ready for civil service and so they can be trained. Being a bus aide, you do have extensive training requirements. They have to have a full day and they have to be trained in being a bus aide. So we want to make them through civil service, and we train them, and we'll be getting them on buses. Our goal is to have each of our 458 buses with a bus aide, and that 458 will probably go down over the next couple months as we tighten up some routes and create some efficiencies. Schools are preparing the rosters for ELT transportation. We met with First Student today and reviewed ELT, and we are looking very good to be prepared for ELT. We did have a conversation about weather, so we'll be looking at weather impacts on ELT, but for a normal non-catastrophic weather day, we are looking very good for ELT being implemented with full transportation support. And we'd like to thank the efforts from the board members, principals, school staff, First Student, NFTA, Associates for School Leadership, and school partners. This has been an all-skate. Everyone is strapped on skates and gotten on the floor, and sometimes we're falling around a little bit, but we're all trying to keep, you know how they used to do it, everyone goes in the same circle. I'd always fall down, but we're trying to get everyone. We appreciate everyone's patience and support. Now transparency on some of the challenges we're facing that are getting better every day, but next slide, Admir. So the challenges. The system has less tolerances. So if there's a delay at an early tier, it will have cascading effects. If we lose 10 minutes on the first tier, that's going to impact everyone. Those two pictures those are my levers that we're going to change. One is School 89 the Tuesday of last week. The other is School 82 Thursday of last week. Those are where buses were not there with their schedule. They're both all late schools, and those are schools that our commitment is to getting things tightened up, and we've made substantial improvements so that there will sometimes be buses that break down, so that we are clear in those schools, those late schools, every day. And just to say, we are very aware of that. We have worked, and I want to thank the ASLs. They have helped tremendously to try and work with schools to unload in the morning and to load up in the afternoon so that we can get buses quickly moving. And we've seen improvements every day. I'll be sitting in a parking lot with the GPS tracker, seeing how buses, and there have been everyday improvements. And another challenge is sports transportation. We've made some adjustments so that we've removed late tier, some of the athletics buses, so that they're just going straight from the middle tier to the athletics transportation. We've created we had some unanticipated surprises there that we're fixing. But the goal is to have yellow buses for sports transportation, and we're getting there. Reduce the number of students with pickups in the morning prior to 6:30. We've been able to reduce a significant number of those, but we're still in the mid-200s of students that have a pickup. That is still less than we had with pickups before 6:30 last year, but it is something we're trying to reduce. That's one of our metrics we're looking at. Further reduction in the average ride length. We'd like to get that down, 3 or 4 minutes, even 5 minutes, so that average is getting closer to 40 minutes. More drivers required to ensure surplus coverage. Right now, we are much better than we were in September of last year. We didn't lose as many over the summer as we typically lose, but we still are working to recruit drivers. First Student has several recruitment events coming up. So if you know of anyone, to go to the First Student webpage and sign up. We're also working with the state to see if some of the requirements for the CDL license can be adjusted to make it easier to get past that test. But the more people that sign up, we have 10 drivers kind of in the line right now, but we keep on encouraging people to apply for bus drivers. And we're working on bus aids. We want to have 100% as the goal. We're closer to that than we've ever been, but we want to keep working on that. So those are the challenges, just to be completely upfront. We are working them. I'm optimistic that come end of next week, we'll be in a much better place with a lot of those. We're making significant route adjustments over the weekend. We have about 4,000 letters going out with some adjustments to routes. We've cut some buses in, their routes in half. We've transferred some routes to different terminals. So our transportation team has been working short-staffed every weekend since May to get this to work. So they keep working to put forward a solution that gets everyone what they need. We always knew that this was a system-wide effort that would have system-wide benefits, but it might wind up being a tough load for some families and some kids for a little while. So we're working to resolve those situations so that it's of a complete overall benefit. But overall, the system is working much better this year than it has since pre-pandemic. And that is where we get the benefits. Starting off school is always a massive lift. So we're working on those situations. Next slide, please. We did make some changes to NFTA to look at decreasing the crowds in unsupervised areas and a decrease in violent occurrences that are associated with our rides home on NFTA public transit. Anyone who is involved in after-school athletics or activities, ELT, coaches, clerks, and administrators have stickers that they will attach to the card. They also, the RFID will be programmed that's in each card now with the expanded times. Work study passes are available to accommodate work schedules. We do have 2 tiers of high schools. The blue pass is for the early tiers, and the green pass is for the late tiers, just to give a visual cue. When you walk out of your school, the time amount you have, which is 2 hours on the pass from the point that school ends to get on your last bus home. So that those 2 passes, that 2 hours is not a substantial change. We kept till 7 o'clock because Lafayette was one of our outlier schools. It had a very late dismissal time. Now tightening up our school dismissals, and we're able to move students through more efficiently. If a student is for after school, if a student has any issue, they can see the security staff in their school. We have electronic day passes that students can get so that they can need a 1-day ride. We also have stickers for all activities. And again, once the RFID is enabled, it will also, a spreadsheet will be sent to NFTA daily to update that. The RFID in the card is a new thing. It has only a unique identifier on it, times of use, and if it's an active card or not. So it doesn't have any student information on it. It doesn't have any school information. It doesn't have any route information on it. Next slide. So as always, when I did the benefits, I didn't mention that I rode a bus in the first day, and the bus driver and I are in the selfie on the first slide. And also on the positive benefits slide, that bus with the heart on it, look for it out of the Federal Terminal. I've seen it all over the district, so it's kind of a Where's Waldo? Find that bus with the heart on it. So I love it when our first student drivers decorate their buses. Admir, go to the end. Oh. And as always, because you've seen that slide over and over again, if you see a bus driver, wave to them. If you get a chance to thank a bus driver, thank a bus driver. And that includes not only our first student bus drivers, but NFTA. They, by and large, they are hard-working, and particularly our first student bus drivers and our first student aides do an amazing job. So we want, if you get a chance, thank one of those staff. Okay. Do we want to do questions, or want to go straight to School 8? Okay.
Board Member Scott.
Thank you, President Belton-Contman. Mr. Hills, thank you for the presentation and the update. I think very helpful to us as board members and to the public to see the data, see where we are, see where we need to improve. It's pretty clear, I think, from that data that we've made improvements. We are in a better place than we were, especially 2 years ago. Obviously, more work to do and progress to be made. For transparency, so you mentioned that the third tier, there are times where the buses coming to the school to pick up kids are late if there's a slowdown from the first tier and the second tier. My son is a performing arts student here, 5 to 8, was instructed last week to dismiss early in order to accommodate, he's the first tier, to accommodate having the buses arrive earlier for that third tier. We were told, this was one of the reasons why we're shifting to a 3-tier system, to eliminate those early pickups where it was cutting into instruction time. So my question is, how many schools are we doing this with, and how long do we expect that we're going to have these early dismissals?
So we've moved the first tier, the buses arriving at the school, up 5 minutes. So we're working to get them loaded and out as quickly as possible. We haven't necessarily, we're still looking at the same end time, but rolling the buses out closer as quickly as we can. So right now the buses are arriving, and I think South Side, they're starting earlier than I expected, but they're arriving at 2:10 instead of 2:15, and then they'll be started loading when schools can. But the goal is to get to a point where we're loading later than we are now, so it's closer to when the bell rings at the end of the day. But having the buses there and ready helps.
So all first-tier schools right now are dismissing early?
Not all. No, it's the buses are getting there early, and some have started dismissing early, but not all.
It's been, my son's an 8th grader, it's been consistent that it's 10 minutes early every day. That, 10 minutes less instruction. And which I understand. We need to maybe make adjustments short term, but do we have an idea on how long that will be?
I'm going to have to get a sense for the scope of it, and the goal is to lose no instructional time. So.
Oh. Yes, who's next? Sorry.
Just a little observation today. I was walking and I saw a school bus without a bus aid, which I understand, but I don't know if there's been any consideration to make sure that there's a bus aid on the buses that have the little pre-K kids that have to then be put in the car seats. And that was the thing, there wasn't a bus aid, so traffic was all backed up because the poor bus driver was trying to get the child into the car seat. So that was just an observation, but I want to tell you that I did, the corner of my street, there were people getting on, waiting for buses, and the parents were very pleased, and there was no issue, so I thank you for that.
Mr. Hurd.
Yes. One of the things that we discussed when we talked about sports and our modified sports program was monies that was donated to the city of Buffalo from Senator Kennedy. And one of the things that we also spoke about was possibly using that money to purchase vans for the modified sports program. I'd like to know where we at with that funding, and do that the coaches would drive the kids to and from their athletic competition, and make sure to get back to the school safely, et cetera, because they would be licensed to transport children. And that would alleviate the after-school bus issues, some of the things that we're exhibiting now. So where are we at with that, or what process do we need to take as a board to solidify these actions to help boost the sports program, but also help with the transportation issues that we're having now?
So district-owned vans, they are still considered school buses no matter how big they are. And the driver would have to have a CDL license, and we'd have to be compliant with the state, which is one of the challenges we faced, is that we'd have to insure insurance them as school bus drivers, and there are issues. We had kind of gotten stuck on it last year, but we'll reopen it again.
Those are things that, okay, they're necessary for this program and project to work. So we've been speaking about this for over a year now, addressing the superintendent, see how we can move this forward so that we can alleviate some of the stresses that we have with the transportation. And also, what I do understand that some of our athletic competition, this year was dissolved, or where our district had to recuse themselves from the athletic competition, was because of bus issues. And this was the reason why I was asking to push this, so that we can alleviate these things, and our kids can, have that competitive spirit, compete, and grow also. So I just wanted to see what time frame can we do to establish a date that we can get this solidified and get this purpose done.
As far as the vans, we'll have to start working on that. As far as some of the other athletics transportation issues, we made major adjustments to make sure they're fixed by Monday.
I understand, but I'm just looking for a date. So end date said on a certain day we can say, okay, now this has been resolved, and our coaches can now move forward and transporting our kids so that we don't have these congested issues where kids are leaving school early, or kids are getting to sporting competitions late.
To purchase vans, to make sure that we have CDL licenses and we have appropriate insurance, I could not give a set date for that.
I understand all our coaches were already certified to drive these vans as transportation for our kids. So as part of their coaching certification, this is one step they had to take, and it's already been accomplished. So I'd like to know what next steps we have to do.
Are the coaches BPS staff?
That's correct.
And they have CDL licenses?
For van licenses, they said they had the license. This came from the athletic department, that they already been certified to drive the vans to the athletic competition.
Again, New York State considers any time we're transporting students a school bus, and it has to follow the licensing rules of New York State.
I'm going off information I received from the department, so I'd like to get a resolve on that.
From the transportation?
Exactly where we're at with.
From the transportation department?
Not for transportation, no.
Okay.
So let's see exactly where we're at with the coaches and what we need to do to move forward so that we can have a date that we can specify on the calendar and say that we're ready to move forward with this to alleviate these other issues that we're having.
I'll look into that, and then I'll get back with you before the end of the week to let you know if it is in fact CDL licenses or if it's another kind of license, but I'll be able to get back to you by the end of the week with that.
Okay, thank you. And also the vans can be used for other purposes also within the district. So, there's a wide variety of things that we can do that can help, this transportation hold that we have right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Superintendent.
I do know from previous research, if the drivers are using the vans to drive children to and from schools, there's a different set of rules. When it comes to transporting children to school or bringing them home, they do require New York State a CDL license. But drivers can drive vans to schools and back, but not when you're coming to transporting. I do know that law. Okay. Any other questions? Superintendent? Thank you.
Does that conclude your presentation?
It concludes my first one.
Okay, so you have a team here with you for your second one. Do you want to introduce your team and then just give a brief update on where we are with that piece?
Sure. Kaylee El-Haddad, Mel Alston, and Daryl Wood, please come on up. So just real briefly, in April, we decided to establish at School 8 a location for Da Vinci High School. We were at the end of the road in our time at Porter Avenue, and we had to do a quick setup. One quick story, we still had the FBI in April scheduled to do active shooter drills at School 8, and we had to call them off so we could start doing the process of abatement. So it was a significant lift on the corner of Maston and Utica, and we have just a couple spaces I want everyone to see. This is one of 2 science labs that were set up, a full wet lab for chemistry, earth science, biology, 2. Many schools don't have 1, they have 2 wet labs set up with acid traps and everything. So one of them was the equipment taken over from Da Vinci, the other one was established there. Other classrooms set up there, some with students in them. The teachers have been decorating the rooms. There are 2 buildings. There's a 1919 building and a 1950s building. We fully occupied the 1950 building and the 1919 building. Just the first 2 floors were abated and equipped for education. So the top 2 floors of that building have not been touched except for some security provisions there. But I've gone to that school multiple times. The classrooms are significantly bigger than what they had on Porter Avenue. We're talking between 50% and a third to a 50% bigger. The classrooms are well set up and they are really enjoying them. Next slide, please. And they have a gym for full use, which they have not had in the past 7 years, full day use of gym. They now have a gym. This is a student lounge that was set up. They will have a student lounge area. The hallways are bright and clean, and this is one of them. They've started to decorate. And then the cafeteria was set up is much larger. If you ever were in the Porter Avenue cafeteria, basically it was a cafeteria with lockers set up in part of it. It was very cramped. It was in a basement. This is a very bright and attractive site. And there's a sign for the first time in its history. They actually have a sign. So it's been very, very good. The work that was done to take this from an abandoned school site, abate and construction has been a significant lift. And next slide. I do want to thank on our staff, Mel Alston, Kelly Al-Haddad, Daryl Wood, Luis Cruz Rodriguez, the engineer for City Honors, who has been nonstop. He had his crew there triple shifts to get this school ready. Even walking through the Friday before Labor Day, there was a tremendous amount to be done. Brad McIlvain, Yvette Gordon, John Waterhouse, Greg Ladinsky, Leslie Patempo, they have all been, every Thursday we met, particularly Mel, Kaylee, and Daryl. They were there on a daily basis. Kaylee was new to the district and has picked this project up and has advocated with state ed. Mel has picked it up, and they just made sure, as if their own children were going to that school, that it was taken care of. So just want to thank the staff. We also had tremendous cooperation from Hayes Construction, Minnie Hayes, the owner, Jeff Hayes, Ben Perkins, John Robinson, Jim Sherwin. There were crews working there over the summer till 2 o'clock every night. Cannon Design invested heavily. They supported us in the on-the-fly building design for the building. So Michael Mohar, James Lai, Sharon LeBain, they weekly participated with us. We were speccing out, drawing it as we were constructing it. So it was a very unique project. Time was our biggest enemy, and being ready on time was something we had to do for a school community that has not been honored or treated well where they were at. So stakeholders, Buffalo Board of Education, thank you so much for your support. Teachers have been phenomenal. They have borne with us through the situation. The students there, I was there for a parent night. The students were doing tours, and they were so excited. The parents who have borne with us through this, we had a lot of parent meetings. They were real nervous that they were going to have a remote opening. They were terrified. And that we were able to honor them, child nutrition program, food service, first student, NFTA. We've gotten specials there. We're able to pick up students there. So it has been it takes a village, and the village has just jumped in to make sure that we could take care of each of our learning communities, but this one that was really facing a significant challenge. But again, if we could give a round of applause, the staff has been amazing. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Hills, and thank you to your team. You guys really have done a yeoman's job, and you know, I can remember us going over to Da Vinci and having parent meetings, and there were lots of concerns, and we heard the concerns, and we all pulled together and worked hard to make sure that we tried to address every single parent concern that we heard. And you know, thus far, the only things I've heard from the parents are that they're pleased. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move into my part?
Right. Dr. Caresses? Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, ma'am. What we'll do is we'll have some staff talk to you about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to move into. Okay. That was kind of cool, though. So we're going to move into the second piece of my update, which is some really important work that our first Vice President, Dr. Kathy Evans Brown, has been working really closely with me on. Our first Vice President of Executive Affairs. We started a process that the board president, I believe, kind of spearheaded with the Council of Great City Schools, which works with large school districts across the nation to help the board and really everyone to make sure that during board meetings and outside of board meetings that we all keep the focus of improving student outcomes. And last year, we had some goals. We had lots and lots and lots of goals. And those things are still really important, but what we've done is that we've narrowed it down to 3. And it's important that everyone in our district is focused on those 3 goals. I'm going to talk real quickly about it tonight, because at our August special meeting, our first vice president, you know, really facilitated a conversation along with Ms. Leslie Grant, who is with the Council of Great City Schools. She's consulting and working with us, but we had a really robust conversation. We talked a lot about the 3 goals, what they could look like, what they would look like, which interim measurements we would be using to measure those goals. And so I'm going to now give kind of an overview on what the 3 goals are and how we are going to be measuring them, and at what points and times the board can expect updates. Because what we can't have is that we've set goals and you don't hear anything else about the goals until June. And then you find out that either we somehow or another made the mark or we missed the mark. So we want to make sure that, during our committee meetings, all of our work is really focused on these 3 goals, and you'll know where we are in the work, and if it looks like the trajectory is not progressing, but it's regressing, it allows us to get back on track and do what we can to give some interventions to schools to try and get us back on the track of progressing. So the first goal that Dr. Evans-Brown and the board has charged me with is increasing the percentage of our 3rd grade economically disadvantaged students to be proficient at 39% in reading by June of 2024. And the way that we're going to measure that is through an assessment that's called DIBELS. And DIBELS is a standardized formative reading measure, and what it will do is help teachers and schools to be able to determine how students are performing on reading skills. And so very soon we'll start giving DIBELS, the assessment, to our 3rd graders to get a beginning of the year kind of a baseline score so that we know where we are. And so we will be measuring again in the middle of the year, and then we will measure again at the end of the year. Last year, when we measured DIBELS at the end of the year, our 3rd graders scored at 33%, and so this year we want to see a 6% increase. So we're expecting 39% at minimum, and how we will get there is that, there are instructional supports and interventions like Orton Gillingham, our CLRI work with children, our ELT program, which we expect will begin earlier than it was in the past, and it'll be opened up because of our transportation piece to children who take buses. We have a WASED program that also will be focused on increasing students' critical thinking, comprehension, vocabulary, and all of those things. And even our community schools programs on Saturdays will be focused on that. I read something today that was interesting, and it said before grade 3, children are learning to read. And after grade 3, they are reading to learn. So we know that grade 3 is really that benchmark year. So we were intentional when we selected grade 3 as the goal. We were very intentional about that. So we're looking for a 6% increase this year from our 3rd grade students on their DIBELS assessments. And the reason that we chose not to, I believe Dr. Evans-Brown and the board chose not to use the New York State ELA test as a measure was because the scores are released usually after the end of the school year. And so it would have been difficult for this to be one of my goals that the board has charged me with if we weren't able to measure it by the end of the school year. So for grade 3, we've got work to do with our staff and with our families. The families have to also know, what is DIBELS? We all know what DIBELS is, and we all know what it measures, but it's measuring phonics and sounds. And so we want to work with families so that children are able to read books at home and sound out words. It's working with fluency and comprehension. So we want parents asking children about what it is they've read, to talk to them about what they've read. So it won't be a mystery anymore how parents can help their children to work on this goal with us. We also discussed with respect to DIBELS, when those assessments or those benchmark progress monitoring pieces would take place. So the board can expect an update on the beginning of year assessment and where the students have tested for 3rd grade in DIBELS not later than November 1st. That gives you a baseline to know how our third graders are doing. Where are they in the process? Now, in between the beginning of year assessment and the middle of year assessment, when we have committee meetings, my recommendation would be that we still continue to talk about some of the interventions that we're utilizing, because we won't be doing a middle of the year assessment until likely February or March. But again, we'll have Saturday programming, we'll have ELT programming, we'll have Orton-Gillingham things happening in schools, there will be grade level meetings happening, so you'll be updated all throughout the year on how students are doing in reading. But our middle of the year assessment piece, you can expect an update on that not later than April 1st. How did the students do? So they've taken their beginning of the year assessment, and by April 1st, you'll find out for the middle of the year where we are with respect to meeting that 39% goal that has been set for me. And then we will finally have our end of the year assessment, which will happen likely, of course, before June 15th of 2024. And I know that we will meet that 39% goal because there's no excuses, and so we will meet that goal. So in addition to the ELA goal, there was a lot of discussion that happened at that August meeting about, mathematics also. It's important for our students to be able to not only read, but to be able to do math well. And we heard a concerned citizen come forward tonight and talk about graduating 12th graders and how many of them are able to graduate and proficiently do ELA and mathematics, so that when they go to college, they're not put into remedial courses. And so we want that too. And we believe that if we get it right in third grade, it only gets better from there. So we'll be focusing a lot on mathematics, and the assessment that will allow us to measure that, it's called iReady. And last year, our third graders on the iReady assessment scored at 13.3%. So how is that for transparency? I mean, I'm putting it out there that our third graders last year, there were only 13.3% when we looked at the iReady assessment that were actually showing proficiency. This year, we have as a goal 15.9%. 15.9%, which will give us a 2.6% increase. It is not getting us to where we want to be. I wish I could say we'd be at 50 or 100%, but we know, again, you don't go from the bottom of a ladder and jump up to the top. It's a process. It's a process, and you take a step up, and each step up gets you closer to the top. So we'll be doing the exact same thing with the iReady assessment. The board will receive the beginning of the year assessment scores, not later than November. Then you will get the middle of the year scores and the end of the year. And in between those scores or benchmarks, you will be getting information on where they are with using different or multiple measures. How are they scoring, on their grades in classrooms, and how many students are coming to our community schools programs? What programs do we have that are focusing on these things? And we're working with parents so that they know, what is iReady testing? What is testing is solving problems and multiplication. So any time that parents can help to assist with also exposing students to some of those skills, we want to make sure that, those things are happening. And again, I think with us being very focused, we have our goals set, and staying focused on the goals, I believe that we certainly will be positioned to meet those goals. This is the work that will be happening in classrooms. It'll be happening during common planning times. It'll be happening during grade level meetings as we're targeting professional development for our principals, assistant principals, teachers, and coaches. I shared this information at our State of the Schools address, at our opening year meeting with all administrators, so that we're all focused. Information has to be sent home to parents, has to be put out on social media, so that everybody knows what we're focusing on. And within my cabinet, I'll be hosting data meetings every 5 weeks with my team so that I can keep a pulse on where we are. We want to have data visual in schools. It shouldn't be a secret, because there's no, I got you. We don't want teachers feeling bad or principals feeling bad if the children are not getting to where they are. That's our time to go in and support. But if we don't know, we can't support. And so we have to regularly be looking at that data, and we will be. So the final goal, so far we're focused on 3rd grade ELA, 3rd grade math. We're looking at all grades, but these are the grade levels that are focused on what the board has charged me with as far as my annual performance review. And the final goal that we said we would focus on is that the percentage of unofficial 4-year graduation cohort students who complete state and district graduation requirements will not be decreased from the 79.1% that we earned in June of 2025. It would stay at least 79.1%. And this is at a time where we won't have the waivers that all districts across New York State had due to the pandemic. So it's going to be an uphill climb for us just to maintain, but we do not want to go backwards. And so we've put in place a couple of interim measurements that we'll be looking at. And right now, I'm told that our ASLs are out meeting with principals. And I believe that our Chief of Student Support Services has our counselors focused right now on looking at credits. How many credits do students who are in the cohort of 2020 have? And if they have 16.5%, you'll know what the percentage is of students that have right now started this school year with 16.5 credits, because those are the students that are on track to graduate. We don't want to lose any of those students. We're also going to be looking at if they have passed 5 Regents exams by this point in time, because a true 12th grader, the last Regents exams would have been taken in the 11th grade. And so we want to make sure we're looking at those 2 pieces, and by November 1st, you'll have information on where we are with our students who are in that specific cohort, 2020. Do they have 16.5 credits, and have they passed 5 Regents? Then we'll come back to you after January exams and see how many have increased. After our January exams, do we have more students who have earned 16.5 credits because they were successful in their exams in January, and maybe they've passed more Regents exams? So we'll have that information for you. And some of the things that we're doing right now is, Ebony Bullock and Laura Samolsky-Peters' office is working with an early warning indicator system. And so they're looking right now at, where students are that have lots of risk indicators. And I think everybody got a little tired of the red, green, and yellow triangles that we were, looking at. And so they came up with like the gold, the silver, and the bronze. And so we got a new system that we're looking at with that. But in our data team meetings, we'll be looking at that information every 5 weeks. So again, I'm pleased. Thank you very much, Dr. Evans-Brown and board members, and Ms. Leslie Grant. I don't know if she's on or not. She is. Okay, well, thank you very much. This focuses the work. Dr. Evans-Brown?
So, thank you, Dr. Williams. She eloquently Okay, so there you have it. Dr. Williams has adequately talked about the 3 goals that the board has charged her with. This work is huge. It's the first time in the history of this district that we have adopted this work from the Council of Great City Schools, which began in July, actually, after a retreat with A.J. Crabhill and Leslie Grant, who's on line here. Before I introduce her and bring her in to say a couple of words, this work is going to be predicated on the superintendent's evaluation for 23-24. And it's aligned with her evaluation, the 3 goals that she mentioned. Likewise, the expectations of this board is that we are now in the mindset of a student-focused outcome model or framework, if you will. So it's governance that we do as a board. We are elected officials, and the community want to see better in terms of our students. And likewise, as the superintendent mentioned, when she report out in November, as well as other future reports, we're going to look at if those benchmarks are being met. And if not, she will look at interventions with her team to, cultivate success, because we all want to, her to be successful in this endeavor. This is just one part. There's another part. Our president has formed a committee with the leadership of board member Cindy McCutcheon. We've had one meeting. You want to say something about that, Cindy, briefly? Because all of this is connected, it's important work. Everybody has to buy into it.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So the implementation committee will meet monthly, and there are 3 board members that are joining Leslie, and we are just making sure that we're moving through this process. It is going to be a heavy lift, and it is going to require all of us to participate as we move forward, and this is the first step. Thank you, Superintendent, for outlining the goals and the interim goals, and I think, as we're going through this process, you're gonna find us continuously talking about and starting to repeat the same language, the same things as we move forward. It is student outcome focused governance, and that's what we're looking to adopt. And it doesn't just sit here at the board table, but it will have a ripple effect throughout the district. And we are quite excited to move that forward.
Thank you, Cindy. So now we have our consultant, Leslie Grant. Can you hear Leslie? Okay, so you want to say something as we wrap this up?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yep.
That's a little loud, sorry. Can you hear now?
Yes, it's better.
Yes. I don't really have, okay, I don't have a visual on it. No, I do want to appreciate the board in terms of, we're picking up and beginning this work and giving the superintendent something real, tangible, and something that the board can follow along with during the year, so that the board gets a clearer understanding about the reality for students in your district. And the board did decide to focus in on a specific band of 3rd graders, a specific group, the economically disadvantaged students. And so I think I commend you on that. That is not just looking at all the 3rd graders, but actually giving the superintendent further focus to a group that you have prioritized. And I just wanted to make sure my goal for you tonight was that you, as a board, receive these interims, ask any questions that you might have of the superintendent about any questions you have as to whether you know, these get you comfortable with understanding the goal you've given her. And then once you are have reviewed the interims, that you do approve these as the metrics that you're going to measure her on this year. So I don't know, do you have the handouts of the document, or? There's another page that we, in terms of the guardrails, and these are more about values. And I'm listening to some of the public comment tonight. I know some of the values and some of the things you were hearing in public comment would be addressed with this too. So, but the things that are numerically measurable, that are SMART goals, are your interims. I mean, the interims and the goals for this year. So again, as a board, I just want to make sure that you look at this, you ask the superintendent any questions, and if you are comfortable with it, that you vote to adopt these tonight.
Can you hear us, Leslie? Okay, she can. All right, so each board member received a copy of these goals that Dr. Williams outlined and eloquently articulated, along with a copy of the guardrails. So, President Cotman, do we have any questions for Superintendent regarding her interim goals that she put in place along with her team since our September 6th meeting? Okay. Board Member Scott?
Thank you, VP Evans-Brown. The goal number 3, it says 29.1% in June 2025. Should that read June 2024? Yes. Okay, so that is a typo. Okay. And I just want to say that this is, I think, a very comprehensive, concise, though, document, and I'm very thankful for Ms. Grant, for Dr. Williams for embracing this, and for this entire board. I'm just proud that we were able to come to an agreement on these goals, and I'm excited about it, and I'm looking forward to, as the Vice President of Student Achievement, really facilitating the oversight of these interim goals as we progress through the year.
Thank you. Board Member, Vice President of Student Affairs, Larry Scott. Any other questions? Okay, President?
So with that said, may I have a motion to move item 16B, the superintendent goals, up off the consent agenda to be voted on, to be approved? So move, Larry. Kathy. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Nate Kuzman, could you come before the board, please, and poll the board? Yes, we do. Yeah, this item has been pulled up. Now we're about to vote on it. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Admiral. On the motion to approve the superintendent's goals, how do you vote, Dr. Evans-Brown? Yes. Mr. Hurd? Yes. Ms. McEachen? Yes. Ms. McCosey? Dr. Rivera? Yes. Ms. Shuda? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
And President Belton-Cotman?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. So thank you very much, Leslie. We appreciate your guidance. We look forward to our next meeting with you. Our next steps, we will we can talk about them at another point right now. Is that okay? We'll do that later. our next steps, okay? Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you for sharing some of your time. Thank you. All right. So, point of order here. My glasses just focused in on the new BTF president has been here with us, and I would be remiss not to acknowledge him. Mr. Nigro, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you. And if you ever want to talk to the board, you know the drill. You have an open invitation. Thank you. Okay, so let's move forward to wrap up this meeting and get our staff home, hopefully at a respectable hour. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the August 16th and 23rd board meetings? Cindy, Terry, all in favor? Any exceptions? Thank you. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda? Woods, McCosey, all in favor? Aye, let's move forward. Okay. With that said, there's a question by board member Terry Schuta on item 10B, amendment to the regulation, Article 40, supervisor of teacher aides and teaching assistants. Board member, you have the floor.
I just want to clarify on the record, it was a motion to accept the consent agenda. You said a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'm sorry.
So I just want to clarify that.
Do I need to revote?
No, it's not.
Okay, correction noted, my apologies. Trying to get you home real quick, huh?
And I will be quick. My question is, tell me what the qualifications and what a supervisor of teacher aides will be. Will that be a teacher aide who's been promoted, who is going to act as a supervisor?
So they would not act as a supervisor, they would actually be board approved as a supervisor. This position is actually on hold, but we still wanted to present it to the board because there's no funding currently for the position. But we have over 900 teacher aides and assistants in our district, and we want to provide them with more support. And this position would be under the supervision of the CAI department right in the buildings. But currently, this position is not funded. However, we need to present this position to you, which we did last month, so it was on the table last month. And so at this time, it's removed from the table so that it can actually be a PECTA-approved position with the district, should there be funding available.
The question is exactly what is their role?
Well, they'll be supervising and providing support to the teacher aides and assistants. Employee relations issues, they'll be helping us with, yes. They'll be helping support principals with anything that they may have going on, and they'll be able to rotate throughout the district.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So one question, I have an additional question on this. So our average teacher aide and teacher assistants make about how much a year? Do you remember?
They're 10-month employees, so they roughly make around $29,000.
So this position is almost double their income.
Not quite double.
It's
Not
close
quite
enough.
double.
Not quite, but it's significant. Is that why is that so high? Is it because of the experience, or what is the reason?
Well, I believe that the position requires that you have at least 5 to, I think, 8 years of experience as a teacher aide. So we want it to be promotable. We want people to be interested in the position.
So you're intending on promoting from within the ranks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You need to know the job, in order to be able to supervise it. So we expect that there'll be an experienced teacher aide or assistant that has time with the district that will have an opportunity to promote to something.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next item, number 13A, Paulette, Board Member Woods, Resolution Food Service Commissary.
I had a question that I wanted to direct to our CFO. The summary and presentation for the commissary project includes the use of $11.2 million of general fund balance. Now, when we the project was initially presented, it was supposed to be completely funded from the food service funds. And you indicated that the balance in that fund is $39.1 million. But in your presentation, you are only using 28 million of the available 39 million, and you're putting the burden of $11 million on the general fund. Now, I've been a capital budget analyst for the county. I know capital projects require 5 to 10% general fund share. So I was looking for a $4 to $5 million general fund impact. Our general fund is a critical fund. It's the one we will be needing when our ESSER funds expire next year. We're going to be needing to use that money to continue our funding our teachers. There are hundreds of positions there that will need funding. That's our equity program to make sure all of our schools have the staff that they need. Education is the primary goal. So for this capital project, my question is, why $11 million? Why would you not use more from the food service fund? And how can we reduce, or what other funds can be used to reduce that $11 million impact? Because we need to save every dollar we can in the general fund. We need it. So can you explain why you propose 11 million? And is there any other source of other fundings, any other plans? How can we reduce that? Because I would like to see it at least go down to at least 2 million lower, not more than 9 million. So can you please answer that?
Sure. First of all, Ms. Woods, I really appreciate your comments and agree wholeheartedly with your assessment on we're not supposed to be using our general funds for capital projects. They were not in the 4-year plan. So overall, I couldn't agree more. And I know the superintendent and I share your views, and we speak on these issues all the time. Now, regarding the use of $11 million in general fund, what we put together is a very realistic financial projection based upon the increased cost of the project from some initial estimates, along with the run rate and a projection for food service deficits going forward. The 11 million on this page, it clearly states this is based upon the cash flow model. It includes $4.5 million in contingency for potential cost overruns on either the construction cost, the purchase of the building, or on the equipment necessary. So with that contingency built in, because I never want to come back to the board and say, whoops, my revenues were too low and my expenses were too high. This is a very realistic assessment of the potential use of general funds, but it does include a $4.5 million contingency for potential cost overruns. Number one. And number two, depending upon the actual deficits or surpluses in food service going forward, that will change this $11 million. And then the third point in the projections, we left $6 million within the food service reserves just to be conservative. One, there's a mandate about them having a reserve amount, and I maintained that and put a little extra in there. So those are the reasons I'm showing 11 million. This is the potential cost to the general fund.
I wholeheartedly agree with you that to avoid any kind of deficits, you always conservatively estimate your revenues so you don't have a shortfall, and you overestimate your expenses. So it's very prudent to put in that all the capital projects may have an overrun, There could be extra costs, unexpected costs. But what I don't agree with is that the burden for that overrun should be out of the general fund when we have much more pressing needs and other needs for operating the school system. You're using 28 million with a $39 million balance in there. That leaves you 10, 11 million in that food service fund. And I don't know if there's a requirement for a minimal balance in that food service fund, but I don't think it would be the 11 million. So I would strongly suggest that at least 2 million of the 11, that 2 million should come out of the food service fund, because that is the fund that should be bearing the brunt of financing and carrying this commissary and this capital project. And I also want to say I appreciate that you recognize that the food service fund does run deficits, and you did put it in there into your planning. So you've got excellent planning, but in good conscience, I can't see you putting the total burden of the 11 million on the general fund. My priority is teaching staff and maintaining those positions, which we all know we have to come up with a plan when the ESSER funds end. So prudent planning says, I need at least 2 million of that. That's 20 teachers. I feel strongly we should modify this to put more burden back onto the food service plan and less on the general fund. That's my recommendation and suggestion to the superintendent and to the board.
Again, based on this projection, it's got, I agree with your sentiments exactly. There is potential room in here to shift an additional $2 million from food service back to the general fund. But that is dependent upon, no cost overruns, and they run a tight ship, so they produce a break even or a surplus rather than a deficit.
You did say you put a $4 million contingency in there.
That's right.
And you put a $6 million share. So I'm just suggesting that that 4 million could be reduced to 2, because I think we're going to have to address the other challenges. My commitment is to diversity, inclusion, and equity, and I need those teachers. I need to know we have a way of funding that. That is what education needs first. The teachers in all of our buildings, based on the EOL students, the special needs students. I need those schools to be funded and have the teachers. And we're going to have a difficult choice with 300 positions funded out of ESSER funds. So I strongly recommend that we modify that. Thank you.
Mr. Hurd, would you like to say something, please?
Yes, thank you, Board President. I have a question. What's the development cost for the project itself?
Building it's being proposed and estimated at $38,850,000.
750. And also there's a cost for the property.
No, the $38,850,000 is all inclusive of purchasing the building, along with all soft costs associated with it, such as architectural fees.
I looked into some other development plans. I just had a question because it seems like it's more feasible for the Buffalo Public Schools to purchase the property and hire someone to do development, but we're purchasing the whole project after it's developed.
That's correct, and there are legal, statutory, and other reasons why this is the best, if not the only way to go about using food service funds to accomplish this.
I'm just trying to encompass that 5 million that it seems like that's been added or is being absorbed away from the general budget. And he said it's legal consequences if we don't purchase the property as a complete unit, or?
No, there are limitations on the use of food service funds, and in order to purchase the building, certain regulations and working with the city and the developer make this deal structure the only method to get this accomplished.
Only method. Okay, and what's the buyout cost from the developer after it's purchased? What are are their gains going to remain equal, or will it be more because you change the titles?
No, the city will hold title to the building and we will purchase it.
Okay, thank you. It'll be the city, not the developer.
That's right, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other? So let's be clear. The board has spoken in regards to this commissary. It is a priority, along with everything else that we're doing. We would like to see our food service upgraded and our children receiving more quality lunches. This facility is doable. My understanding is if you had not used that money, the state was going to take it back, or possibly take it back from the commissary. So I commend you for using the money, because there is a limited time. Oh yeah, I checked into it. You can't just sit big funds, big balances sitting in an account and the state not take ownership of them. And so we'll move forward. Since you have 4.5 extra written in there, we'll deal with that at that point if we ever need to do a budget amendment or something, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Hurd on item number 18K, School 54, Safety Bullards, South Side Precast Products.
Yes, I'll make it quick, just for sake of time. But yes, I would have the opportunity to visit over at School 54 this school year, and I was one of the buildings able to go and see. And Christopher McNeil, she's constructed a very well plan over there. And this is actually needed for 2 entrances at that building. But I'd just like to know quickly, has a safety evaluation been done at that building? Because every day during dismissal and drop off, there's a line of cars that go down Main Street, and it takes up one or 2 lanes on Main Street, and the cars circle into the parking lot, drop children off and pick them up, and then have to exit back onto Main Street while kids are still crossing, and some parents who cross the street there. So it's kind of we know we need to have 2 entrances in that location because the bus drop off is supposed to be in front of the school on Main Street, but it's still it's a hazard over there. So I think it does need the safety units there, but also need to have some type of plan also to see so parents can safely cross the street, especially like I would talk about the inclement weather or during rush hour time. That's when our kids are crossing that busy avenue. Thank you.
The bollards are a step that the buildings asked for, but as far as looking at assessment, that definitely needs to be done. So I'll work with ASL for that building.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. 19D, 2324 Safe Passage Program.
Yes, I had the opportunity, thank you, Board President. I had the opportunity to go to a conference in Chicago over the last week, in the CUBE 2020 annual conference. And one of the things that they did have and they did work on was this, what we're speaking about right now, and that's the safe passage. And for a school size, the city has, I believe, like almost 3 million people in that city. And they have 638 schools, and also that includes 476 elementary programs, and I believe like 160-something high schools and about 111 charter programs. They do use this program, and they said the pros and cons to it about the safe passage. It's about helping children and families get through turmoils that go on in the city, and they have a high amount in Chicago, much more than what we deal with here. But they had projected over 65, 70 shootings per weekend in that area, and this program is used to enlighten those families and students and help give them, like what it says, safe passage back and forth, and identify where the children are located at. So is this program going to be used for every school here in the city of Buffalo? Is this something that we can also utilize for our after-school programs here in the city of Buffalo? And also, is this something like when children go to school, it's going to be used as a locator for our children? And the hiring of individuals to participate in this program. And what they explained, this program was all over the country and certain other areas also. So how would this be used? How would it be used here in the city of Buffalo?
So this is the same Safe Passage program that the district has utilized for at least, I would say at least a handful of years. And the primary purpose of it to date is to ensure for a safe passage to and from school. The extent to which the program could be implemented during after-school programs, I believe that's a conversation that could happen. To the question regarding if we could offer it for all schools, I think that it would be a capacity issue. We're currently contracting with Back to Basics. So again, it's a conversation to have with them, but it does not mean that, if this is something that the district is interested in, that we could not have potential vendors and other organizations respond to our RFPQ. If in fact we are interested in extending it throughout the district. So it's a conversation to have with Dr. Williams.
I apologize, maybe I haven't been doing enough research. I haven't really seen the impact or anything on devising what they have done here in the district, I believe, over the past 6 years. And, I haven't seen any reports or anything by this to show that, that we're spending in something that's prospering our kids in our community. So I'd just like to know if you can send me a little more information about it and what can they do and how can they help resolve some of the conflicts that we're having today in our district.
Okay, I'm sure additional information could be gathered. Thank you.
Thank you. I can say one thing about this program. It has certainly quadrupled in price. I mean, this is up to almost $619,000. And I often wonder when I see proposals like this, if there is not another method for us inside of our district to utilize. And I think we need to start having some out-of-the-box conversations because a lot of the people who are currently being used in these programs are parents of our children. And imagine if they were inside of our buildings working with the children. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. What other districts have done, like New Orleans, they've done that, where they've brought parents into the buildings to work and help with safety and security. I think, as we start talking about spending close to $620,000, and we think about if there's any value to utilizing some money inside of our schools to help with the behaviors that we're seeing that end up being a problem outside. What they did say in New Orleans is that as a result of bringing in the parents into the school buildings, attendance improved, behaviors improved, and the fights outside of the building went down. So we're gonna, we have to start. It makes sense. We have to start, thinking about how do we grow our own. Next is invoice from Mr. Scott. Item number 21B, Hutchison and Russ.
I don't have a question on it. I just, I'm not against, or I'm not for approving that payment.
You're not for approving it? Oh, that's your prerogative. Okay, thank you.
As
Yes.
one of 9 board members, I have that right to do.
Right. So if it's just a matter of just when it comes up to vote, you just don't vote on it. Yeah, they said you had a question. Dr. Williams, 23A, B, D, E, and F.
I just wanted to extend my appreciation to these vendors on behalf of the district and the board. I'm looking at, for instance, School 18 will receive hockey nets and pickleball sets, and they're is, I believe, a donation of eclipse glasses for all of our children, because as we all know, or if you don't know, April 8th is a big deal, and it's going to be the great eclipse. And so to receive a donation so that all of our children get eclipse glasses and flyers, you know, is really quite something. I believe that we will also be donated a water refill station at school number 32. So, you know, I won't go through the whole list, but certainly when we receive donations like these, folks don't have to do that. And so I just want to extend appreciation to all of the vendors that certainly did. The Greater Buffalo Sports, the Citadel and College Board, Buffalo State's Whitworth, Ferguson Planetarium, and the New York State Recycling Grant. So just want to say thank you to each of them and to our mental health advocates of Western New York for thinking of Buffalo Public Schools and our students.
Thank you. Board Member Hurd.
Thank you. That's Superintendent Williams. I received numerous contacts from teachers, and they want their staff to be able to be outside for the great eclipse on April 8th, and they wanted the district to, well, some said they want the day off, but I don't think that's going to work. But they want to see how they make sure they get their kids outside for that event, and
I do want to say that, you know, all of our suburban counterparts are off that day. It's the day after Easter break. And, you know, we're looking at it. We're looking to see, you know, what we can do. We want it to be a day of learning for our children, but the traffic and all of that, I think, is going to be quite something, because we'll have lots of folks from the suburbs coming in to go to the Science Museum, and, you know, they're opening up the rooftop, and it's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Any other questions or concerns at the table? Okay. Mr. Kuzman, would you please poll the board?
Thanks, Board President. And just a reminder, you are voting on the entire consent agenda, including 25 and 26 as part of the consent agenda. And the board policy, because it's not being tabled for a meeting, will require 6 votes. The ethics policy regarding the appointment of the members of the commission will require 6 votes in order to pass this evening.
Okay.
So on the consent agenda, how do you vote, Dr. Evans-Brown?
No exceptions.
Mr. Hurd?
I'd like to recuse myself from 9A, number 41, and 9B, number 41. That's a relative, and recuse myself from 17C, affiliation. Other than that, no exceptions.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Ms. McEcken? Ms. McCosey? Dr. Rivera?
No exception.
Mrs. Shuda? Mr. Scott?
Exception 21B.
Other than that?
Yes, for everything else.
Okay. Ms. Woods?
Exception 13A. Everything else okay.
Thank you. And Board President Belton Codman?
No exceptions.
Thank you. Consent agenda passes.
Thank you. So let's see where we are here. I want to try to get this wrapped up. I did want to say I did not want to hold it up today, because I think it's very important that we get our ethics committee up and running. But I would like for us to take a deeper look into that policy. I do think that there is a need for us to address issues such as board members being members on charter schools, sitting on this board. I think that's something that we need to make sure we put in place now, that is unacceptable. If you are elected to the board, I'd like to see in the future that if you're elected to the board and you're part of that situation, that you would have to resign, or you would have to, we cannot, it's just a no-brainer with that, okay? And the other thing is I'd also like to see a clause in there that talks about adults being responsible for reporting incidents that may happen to children. In other words, you may know something, but you don't tell on the other person. So I want to see those things. So we're going to continue to work with that and open it up and take a look at it. And if you have any additional ideas, let's talk about it. But I do want to make sure that if we're going to have an ethics policy, that we make sure that if we cover everything that we need to cover, because adults are mandatory reporters, and if they don't do their jobs, then we need to hold them accountable. We all are a part of that. So I'm going to work with that. If the board is okay, it is almost 9 o'clock. With the permission, can we avoid doing committee reports today? Are you all in agreement with that? Okay. All right, so I have a couple of things that we have to still do. Point of order is, prior to going into starting this meeting, we had an executive session. During that executive session, the purpose was to discuss potential discipline of a specific employee, district employee, to discuss the negotiations of a contract with the City of Buffalo regarding stop arm cameras, and for the purpose of receiving legal advice. No action was taken during that point. May I have a motion authorizing the superintendent to pursue Section 75 disciplinary charges against employee PW? Jennifer, second. Kathy? Okay. Do you all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, such is case. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, it's the same thing. Now, I am asking the board to authorize my travel to the WASED conference this year. It is limited seating, or that is availability, that's available, but I would like to continue to try to move WASED to the next level in this district. The way we do that is by seeing what other districts are doing and how they're doing it. It's a full conference, and I am asking the board to authorize that. I would like to make a motion to authorize my travel to the WASED conference November the 2nd through November the 4th in Scottsdale, Arizona. May I have a second? Cindy, second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Are there any opposed? No opposed, thank you. Okay, and seems like there was one other thing we needed to talk about today. Oh, I didn't have that, okay. There is do we normally do Black Achievers? Oh, okay, so that's not here, nobody gave it to me. Okay, so on September the 30th, there is a Black Achievers banquet. My understanding is that we have several kids that are receiving scholarships from that. Typically, this is something that the board finance. May I have a motion to move forward with board members. And let's back up before we do this. Let's be clear. We will, up front, let's agree to do a table, but if a table is not filled, complete, but we have to start looking at things differently moving forward, okay? So with that, can we have a motion to purchase a table for the Black Achievers? Mr. Hurd, Larry Scott, first, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Are there anyone who's opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think we're doing pretty good. I think I've gone through all these papers that they gave me. And finally, we have our grievance, our people who are no longer with us. And I wanted to ask the board an idea that came across my mind. Every month we have people that retire, and I was thinking that maybe we can have their names before the meeting starts or whatever rolled out, and just say, 25 years, 30 years, as we're preparing for our meeting, so that they can be honored. We include them in our package, but we never call them out, to do that. So what do you guys think about doing something like that? It would take nothing from the meeting. It would just give them another chance to be honored. You agree with that? Okay, so let's think about doing that, Madam Superintendent. Okay, without further ado, Dr. Kathy Evans Brown, would you, I'm sorry.
I'll just be remiss to say to the board while we're all here is that during the conference, the CUBE conference in Chicago, one of the things that we talked about our goals and superintendent goals is that they had a wonderful class from the Jennings School District about the Community of Learners Cafe Index. What it is when we go out and do our community meetings, they have a layout plan for how to do community meetings and meet, speak with the community and listen to their concerns, but they do it in a cafe type form. So if there's any way in the future we can get together or by email, we can look at their plan and vision, how they utilize their tools for community meetings in districts that's our size or larger. I think that might be a great addition for us to follow or try to implement.
Sounds exciting. A community cafe. Do you feed them?
That's correct. It was very exciting to see it and participate in those circles and events.
Well, certainly our next step with our goal for student focus is to start with our community meeting. So we certainly will be talking more about that. Thank you for sharing that. If you could, typically when you go to one of those conventions, you can download the information. They make it available for you. Normally all board members, members can get it, but since you were there, why don't you download that and talk with Dr. K about it, and we'll see where we can go, and Dr. Williams will see where we can go with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate that idea. Any others? Okay, so we will do our salute to our dearly departed, and then we will adjourn. Thank you.
Will you stand, please? August 11th, Walter Kemp Jr., retired music teacher for 33 years with the Buffalo Public Schools. Father-in-law of Dana Kemp, an English teacher at school number 207. August 22nd, Wayne Elfer, senior, father of Ashley Young, acting director, supervisor of elementary education. August 23rd, Jesse G. Banks, father of Tatanisha Palmer, a school social worker at school number 94, and Shay Nana Edwards, father-in-law of William Palmer, and Jason Edwards, cousin of Ebony Bullock, chief of OSA, Jason Prophet, security guard, and Gwen Humphrey, retired BPS supervisor. September 8th, Ruth Torda, mother of Rochelle Torda, a school psychologist at school number 19. And lastly, September 12th, Mike Williams, former wide receiver with the Buffalo Bills and Riverside High School athlete. May we bow in silence. Thank you.
Why are you looking at me? Do we have a motion to adjourn? I can see that look. Cindy, second by Jennifer, all in favor? Any opposed?